May I request you all to take your seats? Abhishek, can you announce from outside that we are starting? I can hear a lot of people listening to me. So I will try to really keep it very short, crisp, and very goal-oriented. So first of all, welcome this morning to this very important workshop on a very important topic. Land and land governance is a valuable resource, not only for economy or society, but it's kind of livelihood. For several citizens of this country, the land is a source of livelihood in India and many parts of the world. At the same time, land is something which is a challenge, continues to be a challenge in terms of its administration, management, primarily into several developing countries or the least developing countries. We know that entire Africa, Southeast Asia, and Latin America, we are challenged by the land administration. And the Land and Poverty Conference of World Bank, which probably many of you may have been to, is one of the most important and well-attended event in Washington, D.C. every year. Tries to address how can we improve it? How can we improve the governance of land information? That also speaks about the role of land in overall development. Otherwise, why would World Bank take so much of interest in that? Any developing country which is fast growing in terms of infrastructure or industrialization, anything and everything will be built on some piece of land. And the ownership of land, titles of land, demarcation of the boundaries, most of the legal issues or litigations are around that. So what we are today gathered with is a workshop on resurvey of urban land records and its value impact for national economy. So it's very crafted well, the fact that we are talking about how survey and resurvey can help it. How it can actually create kind of technology or the information ecosystem which can help build a better governance. Governance is not limited to technology. Technology is only a tool. Technology is only a mechanism which can help do this. So in this workshop, probably our discussions would be more about technologies and integration of the technologies and the practices which we can learn from other countries or other states or each other. Though land has a big financial and legal issues associated with that. Most of the challenges which we talk about are very much embedded, rooted into the legacies and rooted into the complexities of the land administration or the way a society has evolved, the heritages have kind of been transferred. I do not think that we as a group can get there as much. We better leave it to the administrators. But what we can help them, how to measure land better, how to make it more accurate measurement, how to, even we can tell them that what was the kind of boundary probably to some extent after resurveying done, we can say that what was before and what is now. To some extent, if you go back to some of the satellite imageries as a reference point, you can also see a bit of land use 10 years before and land use today. That may not be very precise. So once you create a very precise map, then on top of that, you bring some other information. So it can become a little bit more useful. So what we are going to discuss here in this workshop is the technology innovations which are taking place around our industry. We're going to discuss about several technologies which are either being used or have a possibility of being used in resurveys. And we're going to also look at how to bring all that data from different sources of current or past and harmonize that and present that in a usable format. And then look at connecting that information with a kind of registry network or whatever enterprise system we have for registries or updation of the records. So the day would be more driven by the technology possibilities. What I'm time and again emphasizing on this, that it's a huge subject, right? And we cannot address that totality of the subject in one day. What we can address today is how the geospatial space or other technologies can help it. And you all would agree that there is a need of more coordinated approach. So before we get to this level, first of all, let us compliment the Government of India, because this is the first time that the union budget of Government of India has made a provision for urban land records. That in itself is acknowledgement and recognition of the valuable role of urban land records in the transformation of India. Our ambition of development would be supplemented by or augmented by these initiatives. And when this happened in July, this announcement came in July, within 2 months' time, the Government of India hosted a 2-day international workshop in Delhi in partnership with the World Bank. And World Bank, please come here. World Bank was invited to help them share those thoughts, processes. And all of us participated there. Quite a lot of us participated there. So we did a kind of review of literature, what is available where. Within a few more weeks, we invited about 20 technology experts from different companies to our Office of Geospatial World, and we had about 1-day workshop on looking at kind of harmonizing the technology processes. What could be the standard process? I know we all have our own views, but is there a possibility to make something which is a standard operating process for survey and resurvey, which is driven by the output, which is driven by what kind of accuracy or information we want to create, and how that information will be updated through integrated enterprise platforms, and how that information will go into the registry systems. So let's focus on the technology side more and more, rather than, but of course, experiences of implementation of the technology on the ground, which stops or, becomes an impediment, is equally important to share. But share, we cannot actually address many of those issues within one day. Because again, it's a kind of interconnected. I would not disagree with you all. I would agree that it is very interconnected system. And those on the ground challenges which we may face while doing survey or resurvey, be it in the form of legal challenges, be in the form of social challenges, be in the form of you know, various kind of administrative challenges. And you all know what I mean. Because when you start going for implementing this, that is when you start looking at those challenges. But then, how do we overcome them, or rather sensitize the administration and help them find a solution? To that level, you know, is important. So allow me to thank Department of Land Resources. The Secretary, Mr. Manoj Joshi himself, is very enthusiastic about it, and he has met several industry people. He has spent time into discussions with all of you. He is providing that kind of leadership, administrative leadership, with a positive mind. And since he was the Secretary of Urban Development before coming to Land Resources, he is quite acquainted and aware about the role of land records into urban governance. And I think that's been very useful, and that we all have to basically leverage his knowledge, experience of urban development, and his commitment to take this big project forward. Secondly, I want to thank Kunal, who could not be here today. The parliament session is in, and after this project has been announced, I think the biggest number of questions from the parliamentarians have come on the urban land governance. So he's busy writing those responses. But I think it also means that so many questions coming on urban land actually also makes it, I would say, challenging, but there is an opportunity. So if we start looking at an opportunity, then we would be able to make better progress. So I want to thank Kunal. He's been very supportive, very partnership oriented. He has met almost every company who has approached him to discuss. So he's very open to talk, and he's a good administrator. I think that he would be in a position to synthesize and harmonize the whole process and provide that leadership. Moving forward, the format today, you have the agenda in your hand. I think Kunal Satyarthi is likely to address us virtually sometime. Whenever he's ready, please let me know. Okay. So he will provide a big overview of the program. But what I want to say, I'm really impressed about it, especially the information for the states, that implementation of this project of urban land governance is very much linked with what we call PLI scheme, which is performance linked incentive. So the federal government is providing more PLIs schemes for implementation of this project, which is kind of driven by the objective of productivity and efficiency of the process. I believe Kunal Satyarthi is online. Can somebody confirm?
Yes, Sanjay, I'm online. Sorry for joining late because of the traffic and also. Yeah, I have joined.
Good morning, Kunal.
Can you hear me?
Yes, and we all can hear you, and good morning.
Morning, Sanjay ji, how are you? I hope it's going well. I'm sorry for not being able to be present in person there because of the pressing official engagements, but good to see that so many people have joined, and the Geosmart India conference has proceeded very well, and I could see the exhibitions doing very well, and all the other. I so much wanted to be there, but my team is there, so my members are there. A lot of people have connected online, so extremely sorry for you and to all the audience. I'm not able to be present there.
We fully understand and appreciate, Kunal, because we know that you are held up in Delhi for some more important issues. In fact, I was just talking about it that the flurry of questions on the land governance also indicates the increasing interest in this topic by the parliamentarians and so that's a positive thing, and we should leverage that opportunity. So I have just provided a kind of background of the event and why we are here together. And I also want to, since you are here, Kunal, I want to really welcome our speakers from international community, especially from Geospatial Commission and France and U.S. government, Census, JOS, and Chris and Gerardi, and they have agreed to share some of their experiences as well. And we have very good attendance actually from the industry and international tech companies as well here. With this, I would request you to deliver your overview address and share your information with all of us, the big ticket project.
Okay, thank you, Sanjay and your team and Geospatial World who has organized this conference. And thanks to all the international speakers and participants who are present in this hall right now. I also take on record that more than 50 states, 50 participants from the various states from Revenue Department, Urban Development Department are present in this hall, and my friends in the industry with whom we have been engaging continuously and repeatedly since we conceived this program. Now, having said that, there's a lot been developments and land record scenario in the country. We have moved a lot in rural land records. We are almost culminating the process of, if you use the words, digitization. That looks to be on track. Whatever was available in the textural, numerical, or spatial domain in the large country like India, and with the diversity that it has, and the more I travel, the more I discover the diversity. I was in Jharkhand and Bihar for 4 days during the weekend, and I realized that the record of rights have been written in a language, Kathi, which not many people understand now. So having 1935, 1920s, the language used in under the Nagpur Tenancy Act and the Bengal Tenancy Act was Kathi and Bengali. How do you translate or transliterate them and digitize them? So it has been a challenging job of digitizing the textual records and the numerical records. Even the measurement systems in the country are extremely diverse. So you have the same term used for different measurement units. It's not a metric system traditionally, but has been converted now to metric system. So a lot of movement, a lot of good work, my predecessors and the government of India, with support and active cooperation of the state governments, have been able to achieve, particularly in the domain of digitizing whatever we had. And that's a good movement, because otherwise everything was in paper, and paper crumbles, paper loses its life, and a lot of things are frozen for last 5 years, 10 years, 20 years, 100 years. Some of the records are valuable which are 100 years old. So a large the movement has happened on digitizing this. Now, having said that, and keeping these records in the digital environment, and then keeping the original records in compactors and modern record rooms, well furnished and well protected. Now that's done. All the revenue officers in the country, all the registrars in the country have been computerized. They have been brought online. So just to mention some of the achievements, and then I move ahead what the challenges are and what engagement we want. So these offices have been computerized. There are systems that have been created which enable them to be online. So in India, unlike a lot of Western world, the registration system and the registration vertical is totally different from the revenue vertical, land record vertical. So that distinction happened long time back in 1908. So registration system is an independent system which registers any document of immovable property and other things also, wills and marriages and all that. But they also register a piece of land or structure on a piece of land. So a registration system has been behaving quite independently, has created its own set of records of buyer and seller for almost more than 120 years. Now that's a challenge because that system has also been kind of made online, computerized, but all those 100 years of registry documents are not available in the public domain. Forget public domain, not available to the government officers also. So that is a huge challenge because the registration system is extremely independent of the land record system, and that is how it has evolved. It was presumed, must have been presumed, that whenever you register a piece of land or a flat, ideally it should be recorded in the land records. But that has not happened. So that is one large challenge we are trying to encounter now and try to move ahead. This would be relevant for urban land records also, because as I go ahead, I'll tell you the hotel that you're sitting in right now and having this conference must be surviving on a non-spatial piece of paper. Go and check. I have done this in some of the conferences. Must be a lease agreement or a blank agreement or a registration document. No land records for sure. So that's a very important challenge because the registration system has created a huge plethora of document by way of registration deeds. Everybody in sitting in that hall where I'm not able to be present today has a flat or a plot or a bungalow or whatever, wherever you live or wherever you work. All those, please go and check back. All those email property currently is a piece of document signed between the buyer and the seller and legally witnessed by the government. Government only witnesses, and there are two more witnesses who witness the process and try to figure out that there's no duress. Both the parties are independent and that they're doing this as per their own stuff. I'm bringing this in because this is what we are trying to solve because registration is a piece of document which is more like a formal agreement but has no spatial domain. It tries to create in the registration document all four sides of the piece of land or flat that you're trying to register. It just does create as per the mandate of the statute, but doesn't move beyond that. So once you've created this spatial domain by various measurement or no measurements, or just by saying what lies on the four sides of the place of earth that you're trying to register, should be reflected in the land record. Now this has not happened for almost 100 years now, more than 100. 1908, the original act was 1870. So almost a backlog of huge backlog, of almost 150 years. Now, this is important for urban land records because the only record available in most of the cities is a registration document, a good document, and but having no spatial domain. So you don't know, has never been fixed by the government where this land belongs. It was not mandated. So that interlinking between the registration department and revenue department's land records has started happening now. A lot of states in the country mandated that the registrar would not be a blind person. You can go and register this hotel that you're sitting in. One of you can become a buyer and a seller, produce a piece of paper. If both of you are fine, the hotel land and the hotel itself could be registered. So we are trying to add value to that, and some of the states have moved ahead and told the moment you are talking about a movable property, you have to look at the land records. So there has to be wisdom in the registration process. Now, how do you get the wisdom? You get the wisdom from two sources. One of the source could be that the registrar could look at all the prior registrations that have happened. So if you're registering this hotel, should be able to check who has got this registered before. Now that wisdom is very critical, and that wisdom you can create only when you create all the legacy document, scan them, digitize them, then create the metadata, make it searchable not only for the government officer but also for the citizens, so that I am sure a piece of land that I'm buying nobody has bought before. And most of the urban or peri-urban scenario has struggles of court cases because the same piece of land of 1 acre has been sold to 2 acres because people have gone and registered, and everybody thinks they're a co-owner in the land, but actually it's not right because it has been sold many times or sold not properly, sold for a different plot of land, and the paper says something else. So that's one big challenge. We have been also the revenue courts or the land record department, not the settlement department. The land record department of the country has a process of mutating a particular piece of land, both textural and on spatial domain. Now, when we call it normally in the online platform, we call it RCCMS, Revenue Code Case Management System. System was coded, was given to all the states. A lot of states have started using it. Almost all have started using it, but they have not been able to link properly with the registration system right now. So the revenue court case system, where you mutate lands, where you resolve disputes of ownership, of shape, of area, of name, of numbers, that option is available in the system. Registration has no option right now. So if the registrar has registered a deed, and there is no option of refusing or cancelling the deed. Unique phenomena. It's a one-way traffic. There's no appeal currently. We're getting into trying to look at how do we make the Registration Act more dynamic and contemporary and pragmatic. That would be solving a lot of problems, because then the registrar has to look into the land records and look into the registration records and then register a piece of flat or a having said that, the integration of these systems is being done right now. Our emphasis right now is on integrating the registration system with the court case management system with the land record system. If all three integrate flawlessly, a lot of problems in future would be solved. Now, this is about future, and I told you about the past, because past has generated a lot of papers currently. How do we take out that? The second important emphasis that we are putting now is on making the whole process paperless. So once you have, there should be option for the citizens to not depend on stamp vendors and deed writers and lawyers and advocates. Not that I'm against their jobs, but this is such a simple process. You are buying, somebody is selling. There's no legality in the whole thing, right? I mean, the registrar is not looking into the value of the document. Who is the advocate and what is the advocate doing there? So deeds are being made online. So if you want a flat, a buyer seller can generate an online deed. If you generated an online deed, you don't have to go to the vendor to get a stamp paper. Generated watermarked online, like you pay for any service. In the country now, we have such a majestic system of paying for anything that we buy. We can buy government services also. Why go through the long channel of stamps and duties and etc.? Why you have to calculate things? When you have things on geospatial domain, the registration fees and the stamp fees can be calculated online, depending on where you can buy your flat, where you're buying your land. So that's a large portion of making the whole thing paperless. We also attempting to make the revenue court case systems paperless and also less cumbersome. The biggest fear in the country is that I'll take you to the court and then the decisions will happen over a period of time. But the legality is there when you want to determine the title, when you want to determine the area. Please go through the process. Hear all the parties. Perfectly fine. But not in normal cases. I'm buying a flat. You are taking a piece of land. We have complete ownership over the whole thing. There's nothing legal. There's no application of legal mind or regulatory mind in the whole scenario. So that's the important movement we are having. A lot of states have already gone ahead. I don't want to name states right now, but a lot of movement is happening. And as Sanjay was saying, if you do all this, we are incentivizing the state government. Honorable Finance Minister in the budget has announced that we will be incentivizing reforms in land records, both rural and urban. Now, this is a large picture. It looks like a rural incentive program, but has a huge impact on urban land records. Now, coming back to what we are trying to do and what I'm supposed to be, because this is important to understand what the problem is and where we are trying to move. So, rural land records are as such digitized. We don't have clue about what the current ownership looks like. I was again I'm borrowing from my last two words, and I'm just naming two states. I thought I'll not name states today. 1935 records, and thereafter the records are all temporary receipts or Form 2 registers, and the current spatial domain doesn't reflect the ownership domain on the ground zero. So much sale has happened, so much inheritance has happened, so much families have bifurcated and moved ahead. Now that's the important thing to do. So what I see as the new DLNP program, whenever it is written in a year or so, when we finish This phase of the LMP program on 31st March 2026 is the sunset date for this program. The next program, or the quarter-bonus program, which we might write, would be a large program to look at survey and resurvey of all the land parcels and subdivide. A lot of papers have been generated. So mutations have happened. I have bought, you have sold, mutations have happened. Luckily, if it has happened, registration has happened, followed by mutation of the land. But on the map, where this mutation is happening, where this land is located, has not happened in large swath of the country. I can very well say around 90% of the, except aberrations like Tamil Nadu or Madhya Pradesh. Some of them, Maharashtra, Gujarat, some of them claim that they maintain Agartala, Tripura. All the variations are there, and some of them have not moved ahead. So we have another program within the DLN program. It's not a new program, but it's a program quite similar to Swamitva, but quite complex. And that is what I'll speak for the next 5 to 10 minutes on, and then maybe allow for some questions. Now, the second wave of land record digitization happened in the Ministry of Panchayati Raj and co-partnered technically by the Survey of India, guided by the Survey of India through the empanel agencies of private companies and industry partners, is that we try to figure out how do we map the rural habitations. Now, that's very important. Now, we call it Swamitva program. Good friend Alok sir is running that program, but because during the colonial time and also during the Mughal time, the villages were never measured because it was a lot of interest to them. So the second wave happened in Swamitva program when we tried to map and all the habitations. So it's called Lal Dora, or you put up a line and say this is not measured because this is not of interest to us and people who don't understand the land record perspective. Land records in India were generated for revenue. Land records in India were not generated for ownership or possession. That is very important. Government kept a record on the citizens' behalf just to determine what you are growing, what crop you're growing, how much is irrigated land, non-irrigated land, what seasons you grow, and how much tax you can give. Look at the record of rights in the country. They all have very strong emphasis on how much revenue can be collected, how much will the landlords collect, how much the kings will collect, how much the colonial rulers will collect. So the whole structure is built on revenue generation. You measured land for revenue generation. Now you're using the same measurement for ownership and possession. That's a huge dilemma. Now you have to be very, very perfect. In those days, the land was not so precious, so it's fine. You measured wrong, right, with chain compass, with the methodologies available at that point of time. Great pain must have been gone to measure these lands. My core is forestry. I can just imagine 1890s to 1920s. So many teams measuring the whole country, determining the boundaries of the forest, putting boundary pillars, by angles, by chains. I don't know how people carried so much and all the measurements, and they look very precise. I just put a 30 centimeter HRSI image onto the cadastral map of 1935, both in Jharkhand and Bihar. They completely fit with some mismatches. It's fine. Those are fine because because you were not measuring at 30 centimeter at that point of time. So that is important domain. Now, coming to urban, we also, this is the third wave, if I can say so. The Naksha program, as we call it, is the third wave. Naksha in Urdu or Persian or Hindi means a map. So the urban area is the map portion. And now I'll talk about only this because then I can go on and on. But when agricultural land converts to non-agricultural land, 1 acre fragments to 30 plots or 10 plots, and then the city becomes too expensive to buy land and the city starts rising vertically. So much travel that I do, it's very difficult to recognize which city you are in. A long time back, when you drive through a city, you can figure out you are in Udaipur or Kanyakumari or Agartala. All the cities, if you don't go to the heart of the city, the old city, all cities look same. They have apartment complex and apartment complex because land becomes so precious. So initially there is horizontal fragmentation of land. Initially, so the second wave of the first wave must be in Mughal times. So Delhi, hardcore Delhi insights is Mughal time and before 8 cities of Delhi. But then the second wave happened. All the peripheral areas of South Extension, Greater Kailash, etc., etc. So if you know Delhi or the city you're sitting in, Hyderabad, the core of Hyderabad, and the second wave of Hyderabad, which looks flat, which looks like 2-story building or 3-story buildings. Land was not so precious, so people had those bungalow concept, and then that building has fragmented into three brothers, or three people have bought and sold. So vertical things started very late, and now if you go beyond the second wave of growth in any city, the third wave is all vertical. You have just apartment, because the land becomes. It's not only Bombay which is going vertical, even Indores and Agartalas and Guwahatis are going vertical. It's cheaper to live in that. You can fragment land. How do you divide ownership of land in an apartment complex in Guwahati or in Bhopal or in Jaipur? These interesting questions to answer. So we realized under the current leadership of Secretary DOLR, Manoj Joshi sir, that urban and peri-urban land records are lost very rapidly. Most of the problems in the country, if you look at legislations in the country or court cases in the country, two-thirds of the court cases, civil courts, not criminal courts, even criminal courts, civil courts, two-thirds of the cases are being fought for land. I think rest of the one-third must be government employees against the government, is what my guess is, but I've not done the analysis. But two-thirds of the civil court cases in Mufassil towns and small towns and cities, people are just fighting for land, for their ownership to be recorded, for the area to be recorded, and all that. So if you do good land records in rural, in Swamitva, in the rural habitations, rural agricultural lands, and in urban particularly, because the value of land in urban is almost 1,000 or 100 times between that range, vis-a-vis the next agricultural field. So value becomes very high. Can you imagine the value being so high and the measurement being so imprecise? It's all guesswork right now. And the revenue officials still measure with the old methodology. I don't know how they measure and what they measure, but for a land as precious as 10 centimeter and 20 centimeter can be fought in a civil court and can lead to criminal cases. I was some of the interlands of India, a lot of criminal activities and cases, not even in interland, even in peri-urban areas of Gurgaon and Ghaziabad. It's all about land empires. You have land, or you can get land, or you can buy land, or you can go and register a land, or you have the wherewithal to do that. So law and order, both criminal and civil, would go down if you do good land records. Now, last point is that in the city, where I should have spoken more about, is we don't know currently. I don't know at all. I think I've heard and met most of the people in that hall. I'm unfortunate I can't. I could not meet the other half, which I have not been able to meet till now. But we have been open. You just send a mail or a WhatsApp. I'm ready to meet you, hear you, and what your experience you have. But the challenge is open to all. It's not my challenge. It's a challenge to all the industry partners and the states together to work with. Now, the challenge is that in urban areas, there is registration document. Most of the people have a registration document. People survive and get out of registration document because in India, if you do a 11-month agreement, you don't pay the stamp duty. A lot of city would be on basically on agreement deed. So I just wonder, because I'm just opening this Pandora's box. Some of them with limited experience, some perfect. So Maharashtra, Gujarat, Goa, three states in the country have had city survey department since British times, since 1910. So they measure land. Bombay, every piece of land is measured. Precise, non-precise, I don't know. But there's huge measurement of land in urban areas in Maharashtra, Gujarat, and Goa. Although that system also needs to evolve, it is still not perfect. They're also struggling with fragmentation of land. Rest of the country, I can just name Chennai, Raipur, Guwahati, Agartala, Bhopal. Some of them have continued to maintain land record and then gave up at some point of time. This is not possible for us anymore. We can't measure. We can't mark. You can't mark on a small piece of land if there are 20. You can just keep drawing some lines here and there, but they're not cadastral. So this is a problem. Now, registration documents is something. So we are trying to fly three technologies. I don't know which one is perfect. In spite of talking to all of you, having talked to Swamitva team, Survey of India, the current team, the past team, Survey of India, we don't know what to do. So we have three technologies now. We're taking 150 cities as pilot. We want to do around 60, 70 cities by just flying 2D Nadir camera. Just get me the roofs and the water tanks, and maybe get us a stereo image if you can get me imperfect stereo images, but they are helpful for visualization. Get me that, and we'll try to create urban land records. We know some cities are very complex, so some of the cities are going through the oblique cameras. So they would be using oblique cameras, almost similar numbers. Exact numbers are difficult to say, but similar numbers. Some cities, particularly in the mountains and particularly extremely complex cities, complex and old cities where you can't get any aerial photogrammetry, canopy cover is high, slope is extremely high. We're trying to measure Shimla by drones, by 2D. I don't know how do you do that. So we are also using some cities on lidar. I might be totally wrong, but this is what I heard from. We're just a pilot. We'll learn in this pilot. So this pilot, and we are flying these three kind of instruments. Flying should start very quickly. By the time this workshop ends, that's the commitment I can see here. Even though they look small in the screen, I can see a lot of Survey of India officers sitting there. I presume we are working on timelines. So within this week or the next week initially portions, the commitment is that the tender documents would be out and the awards of the contract will happen. I think the flying would have been completed. The feature extraction testing of the companies would have been completed in Dehradun and Hyderabad. After doing that, the flying will happen for next 2-3 months. We incentivize the program, first of its kind in India. The timelines are 6 months and 3 months for 2D and 3 months for 3D and stereo and all the asset mapping and all the other attributes. But if you do it quickly, the incentive is 2.5% per week. So you finish your job quickly, you get incentivized by 2.5% per week. Now, this would start. After that, last points that I'll mention is the complexity of the problem. So then the problem starts. Flying is good. I'm great. I love flying and getting aerial photogrammetry and making twin images, twin city images. That's fine. The music that has not happened till now is now trying to make an enterprise solution that digests the ORI sheet building footprint, digest the registration documents available on that particular building footprint, digest the property taxation document, which looks like a very good document right now in the country. Everybody pays property tax. So all the property taxation document are also available in various formats. The more I travel, the more I become wiser or unwise. There is manual ways, there are point locations, and some cities have geospatially enabled property taxation. So can these layers of ORI marry the layer of property tax if it is available on if it is geotagged or if it is in geospatial domain? Then you take the registration document and any other document that the citizen produces at that point of time. That's the challenge. In Swamit, we did not have any document. Swamit was a greenfield program. Urban is not a greenfield program. It's a complex program. So we need to digest all these documents and give two outcomes. I say normally is that try to find out who is the owner and how much he owns. Who is the owner is a difficult thing to do. Co-terminus with how much does it own. You can give us all of you sitting in the hall can give us how much do you own maybe. Who owns the determination of title is where one of the states Bihar currently is struggling with and finding its way very precisely using imagery of 2018 on of aeroplane and 2D cameras. But that enterprise solution is being built currently. The storage space, cloud storage space, is under discovery right now. As we talk today, till yesterday, I can see MPSCDC team there. They have been trying to discover what looks like a good way. So people are looking at enterprise solution because now we are preparing for ground truthing. Go and ring the bell in an urban area and say, this is what the government has. This is the ORI sheet. This is the property tax that you're paying. I want to determine, are you the real owner? Give you a property, give you a property card, or we call it land records card, precisely is a challenge. So that is ground truthing. We are incentivizing all the state governments, incentivizing, providing funds is when we are also providing for rovers to be bought, so many teams to be created. A large field is opening right now is of surveyors. We have deficient surveyors. We'll require few thousand or few lakh surveyors across the country as we go ahead in this program. Currently, people are scrambling. We hire a surveyor, we hire as a service from a company end to end who uses the rovers, who gives us the surveyors. We don't buy the rover, we buy the rover. I'm not getting into that traction right now because every state in the country is at different level. Whether you buy a rover, whether you provide for a service to be done, but that is the journey we look forward to, and then publish a map too, and let the citizens figure out what is right and wrong. So that looks like a challenging task. And after the dust has settled in the city, after the sandstorm has moved on, is when you publish the final land records and tell this is the only true piece of paper that we hold, and this is what your property, whether you use a flat or a program or a shop or a industrial complex, is. So I'm sorry, I think I extended long, but that should be enough from my side. Thank you so much to Sanjay and his team and my team there. Thanks to all the state representatives who are present, and thanks to all the industry partners and industrial partners. Grateful to this opportunity to share. Thank you.
Thank you, Kunal. Thank you very much for presenting an overview of the program as well as the incentivization and welcoming the leaders to come and talk openly, and also the speed at which you are planning to actually execute this program. That all talks about this kind of importance which the government is putting on this. So without taking much time now, Kunal, if you are willing to join, you're very welcome. And in between, from your have a questions to the team or people here. I wanted to make before I invite my first moderator, I just wanted to request everyone. See, we have a very important day, and purposefully we have provided opportunity to almost 30 people to speak or 25 people to speak, which also means that be very objective oriented in your interventions. We have 3 international speakers. So, we would have them present in 10 minutes each as per their slots. But there will be no other presentation. Otherwise, the workshop is all driven by discussions. So we have invited some panelists who will make some introductory remarks in 3 to 5 minutes, but it is more more of discussions. If our chair, who is very moderate, tries to stop you, please don't mind. Intent is to give opportunity to each one, so that we can actually bring all that information, synthesize that information, and deliver that information to an actionable format and actionable plan to the Department of Land Resources. With this, I would like to request Lieutenant General Girish Kumar, former Surveyor General of India, very well-known expert, been the mission director of several programs, been at the core of transformation of Survey of India. Also, he's been advising Swamitra Yojana, he's been advising Haryana government, as well as he's the advisor of Ministry of External Affairs. So he is involved into the decision making or rather, promoting geospatial technologies and its value. So I hand over the session to him, and I also request all the speakers to come on the stage. Pankaj Mishra from Survey of India, G.V. Sriramam from NeoGeo, Pankaj Photedar, there are 2 Pankaj now, from Geono and GMR Group, Ravi Kumar from IIC, and Prashant from Prashant Surveys. Thank you. Sir, please go ahead.
Yeah. Sriram. Very good morning to all of you. First of all, I would like to convey my sincere thanks to Department of Land Resources for giving me this opportunity to moderate this very important topic, and also GWF, Sanjay and his team for organizing such a wonderful symposium. Our theme for today's session is modern surveying techniques for urban land records and aerial photography and beyond. Kunalji has covered quite a bit about the background and purpose and what is the status and how we are, how the government is planning to move forward. And as we all know, that land records have been prepared for the last 4.5 centuries. And the first modernization took place when Raja Todermal, he introduced some of the improvements in land measurement from tape to chain and other things, and it continued. The techniques continued to improve. And the modern surveying techniques for urban, whether it's urban or rural land records, have significantly advanced, which enable very precise and efficient mapping of the land boundaries. So today we are here to debate and discuss various surveying techniques which are existing or which are available, which are open for use to the government agencies. And we'll discuss each one of them one by one, and we'll see what are their strengths, what are the shortcomings, and whether they can be used independently or they can be used in combination with other technologies. And we have a very esteemed expert panel, and I know all of them, they are masters in their own domain. So I'm sure we'll be having very precise and crisp answer to each and every question. So my first question goes to Pankaj. The first question I'll ask about the only technologies, their strengths, their weaknesses, drawbacks, shortcomings, and how they can be used. So I'll request you to tell us about the aerial photogrammetry, which is one of the oldest technique, manned aircraft especially, which has been in work for using surveying technology. So I'll request you to explain to us.
Thank you, sir.
Yeah.
Thank you, sir. Good morning, everybody. Myself, Pankaj Mishra, Deputy Survey General from NIGST, Survey of India, Hyderabad. So, regarding the use of aerial photogrammetry, aerial photogrammetry had been in use for a very long time. In Survey of India, we had been using it in our production processes for a very long time. And since this technology has evolved in past like 10 to 15 years, the completely digital kind of photogrammetry processes have become very common. So we had been using the aerial photogrammetry in various national level projects, and I think this is one of the technology which is there as part of this pilot in Naksha, because the kind of works we had done in the Swamitva program, wherein the orthorectified imagery-based processes were at the core, and the problem statement and the kind of solution which was envisaged in Swamitva was actually suiting to the technology selection also. But here in the urban context, when we talk about the urban complexities, I think the aerial photogrammetry with the kind of 3D capabilities which it offers, it's definitely going to be very, very useful. And I think we will be getting a lot of clarity, as Kunal sir was telling, out of this pilot in terms of developing the process standards for scaling it up in, let's say, in the other towns when this pilot phase is expanded to a full-fledged phase. So aerial photogrammetry and the stereo photogrammetry, definitely, it's a very, very proven kind of technology when it comes to the uses of high resolution mapping or the cadastral mapping kind of applications. So, it is very heartening to see that this has been actually chosen as one of the technology option, and definitely it'll be able to actually fulfill the purposes.
Thank you, Pankaj. I'm sure as and when the area of interest increases, this will be more aerial photography, manned aircrafts will be more viable technology to be used. Sri Raman, can you tell us about the use of unmanned aerial vehicles as a surveying technology in the modern days?
Yeah, thank you, sir. And I am Sri Ramam. I represent NeoGeo. I'm the CEO of NeoGeo Technologies. We have been using, various kinds of unmanned, vehicles for capturing the data from the field. I think once, the data needs to be captured at scale, and we need to also capture the data very quickly at a very, very high resolution. We need to have these kind of UAVs getting operated to collect the data. Initially, there is a lot of work that was happening with the satellite images, and satellite images, as we all know, is able to provide data till about 30 centimeter resolution, and probably with some, usage of the technology, we could convert to around 15 centimeter HD data. But today, when we are looking at the land records, especially, we are looking at data which is much more accurate. So we need to capture data at around 3 to 5 centimeter GSD and process it further, so that the land record system is, very accurate. We have started using UAVs for data capture, and today we are doing one of the largest projects where we are capturing around 50,000 plus square kilometers in Karnataka state, where we could successfully fly and close. We are generating DEM and ORI using this, unmanned vehicles, and we have captured this data. One of the important things is that the data that is captured is very well, and I would like to emphasize specifically on the positioning system that is required before we actually fly the drones, which is the course network. As we all understand,
we'll come
yes,
to that point
we'll
later.
come to that. Okay. So we have been using this technology, and today I think it has become a very useful and inevitable technology for mapping purposes when we are looking at very high resolution data, especially in land records, whether it is rural or urban.
Thank you,
Thank you.
Sharon. In fact, I didn't mention about the satellite imagery because the precision required for urban land record is very, very high. Even what we are providing today is centimeter level accuracy, which is even, or say, 5 centimeter GSD resolution, GSD and 10 centimeter accuracy. Even this is not acceptable to many states. So they say that they will go by 100% using GPS and rovers. So that's why I didn't mention use of high resolution satellite imagery for urban land records especially. Yeah. Thank you, Srijaman. Now, Pankaj Pankaj Fodedar. Tell us about the LiDAR, light detection and ranging as one of the techniques for surveying.
I am Pankaj Fotedar. Thank you, General Girish sir. Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. My company has been into LiDAR and photogrammetry combo surveying since last 15 odd years. Where LiDAR comes into play is a direct measurement methodology, be it from a manned platform or from an unmanned platform. So where accuracy is required, all three dimensions, X, Y, and Z, that's where LiDAR comes into play. While other technologies very much are required, where LiDAR plays over other technologies is to cover obscure areas under the vegetation. That's where LiDAR can perfectly and exactly measure the ground points to the extent of 5 centimeters, or even better if you fly even a little lower. You can get to below 5 centimeters accuracy measurements also. And the recreation of the land, the Xerox of the land which I am trying to create in digital domain, I do believe that LiDAR is the technology in combo with a photogrammetry to create that 3D Xerox. Thank you.
Thank you, Pankaj. Yes, LiDAR definitely adds value where we have high vegetation cover. Thank you very much. Dr. Ravi, tell us about Global Navigation Satellite System, GNSS, or rovers along with the, can be used with the CORS network as a surveying technique, because some of the states have gone independently to map their land parcels only using GNSS. So tell us about this.
Yeah, good morning everyone. I am Dr. Ravi Kumar from ISC Technologies, and working in resurvey projects for last 15 years. And it's a good point actually. Sir brought it out actually on the GNS and the CORS based the measurements and the specifically for the urban land records environment. And urban land records scenario is totally different when compared to the rural. That's why what we felt is because we need to measure the points on ground at a specific location. Towards this, what is happening is in urban segment, our experience is that we need to identify the exact boundary point, actually where the property layer is there. Towards this, If you use the technology, sync with the CORS. CORS actually, it is giving a very good accuracy. It's a well spread is there. If required, we need to extend into the particular city on a local basis. If you go with the rover, the advantage is I can pick up the proper vertex. This will be a supplementation to any other technical inputs, either through the oblique photography or else with the 3D feature extraction. It will give a good confidence to the public to accept the data, because once we give the data, there will be variations. This challenge can be addressed using this supplementation of field survey verifications.
Yeah, thank you, Dr. Ravi, bringing out very clearly how the GNSS can be used. Now, Prashant ji, I'll ask you a question about the terrestrial modern technique, that is the mobile mapping system, including 3D laser scanning technique.
Yeah,
for
thank
the
you, sir.
survey.
I'm Mr. Prashant Aladgi from Prashant Advanced LLP, a Pune-based company. The roots of this company are from Survey of India. My father was in Survey of India department for 24 years, and we are having this company since 32 years. So coming back to the question, like mobile mapping, we have mapped about 35,000 kilometers of highways. We have mapped up 3,000 kilometers of railways and 2 defense airports in India, and about 700 kilometers in Saudi Arabia. So we have done it exclusively using the mobile mapping technologies, and the best part of it is how this change happened. I just want to emphasize one fact, that all these technologies which we are speaking right now are good, are having their merits and demerits as well. So it is how you practice them. Like I just want to give an example how we shifted from total session to the mobile mapping. So I have seen the era of plane table survey. My father used to do the chain and compass surveys. Then we came to the total sessions or the dumpy levels and the theodolites. And then we came on to the mobile mapping, and now, of course, the LiDAR and as well as the drone-based LiDAR technology. But the point is, a person who is in the learning at the initial stage of mobile mapping, he might make a lot of mistakes. Okay, so a person, we were doing since 18 years, we were doing total session and DGPS survey. So we were very accurate, we were very confident about our outputs and deliveries. But once we got the mobile mapping device, we were saying, oh my God, what is this? This is a completely different device. We have to understand it. In the initial stages, you're bound to make mistakes. But then you have to overcome your mistakes, learn how you made the mistakes, and then improvise. And then after some time, after the learning curve meets saturation, you come to the stability mode. So that's why my different view is, all these 3 technologies having their plus and minus points. Just like the LiDAR instrument, which we experience like mobile mapping, the nadir cameras or the oblique cameras. Nadir is meant for low height plane areas. The oblique cameras for high buildings with like Mumbai or something, tall buildings. And of course, LiDAR with oblique cameras for the Himalayas or hilly terrains. So you have to understand the benefits of each of them, and as well as you can utilize them appropriately for the appropriate cities, as like Kunal sir already mentioned to us. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Prashant. I could see a smile on your face when I asked this question. And in addition to answering the question, he has summarized also that no technique is perfect, and we need to use in combination of each other. That was the main point to discuss, that we have many technologies available, very many techniques available, and no single technique will give you a perfect solution. So we need to, on the need basis, we need to work with the various technologies. So now we come to the second round of question for Pankaj Mishra ji. Survey of India has taken great initiative in establishing positioning infrastructure in the country, and also in horizontal and vertical both. So my question is, do we need to augment this existing infrastructure, horizontal as well as vertical, for urban mapping activities, or it is adequate?
Yeah, I think it's very pertinent because the existing CORS infrastructure which has been installed and which has been established by Survey of India, the first objective of completing the entire country with the CORS network was to actually make sure that CORS coverage is there across the country. And the first phase, whatever densification has happened or whatever line distances are there, they are in general to cover most of the productive areas. But when it comes to, I think, urban surveys, this is always there in the plan that it will be augmented in future as per the specific requirements of the surveys across the country. So it might not be confined to only the urban areas. It might be required in some of the infrastructure development kind of activities where the augmentation would be required. It is very much there on the card, like this particular requirement assessment is happening. But to start with, let's say in the pilot phase right now, it'll be done with the existing CORS infrastructure. But we are also expecting that whatever like challenges we'll have in terms of, because there are different at different kind of surveying activities we require CORS network to be utilized. So based on whatever learnings we'll have in terms of challenges what we'll be facing in doing all these pilot activities, the strategy for augmenting the CORS network will definitely be executed accordingly. Right.
What about geoid?
Yeah, it's vertical will be going, like there is already as per the National Geospatial Policy, there is a target for completing the vertical frame related activities, and as per that all the activities are going on as per plan. So as far as the vertical is concerned, that is the availability of the geoid model for all these areas. Definitely, the geoid model deliveries are being prioritized as per the requirement in the pilot and in all these kind of city surveys. Otherwise, in general, also as per the plan, the geoid model development for various states where it has not been completed and published, it is going on.
One in continuation, sorry for keeping you on hold. If you can tell our audience that how these services can be used by them, because most of the states will be initiating this Naksha program, so and CORS will be there, so they may not be aware. So how this CORS network as well as the geoid, how these services can be availed by them?
So we have created an interface for utilizing the CORS services, and we have a dedicated directorate at Dehradun, which is Geodetic and Research Branch, that is actually looking after and handling this entire horizontal as well as the vertical frame and the infrastructure related activities. So whether it is a requirement related with the geoid model, or it is a requirement related with availing the CORS services, whatever service like you wanted to avail, that is the directorate, and there is a CORS service portal through which you can actually avail all those services, and you can subscribe for it. In fact, for government users, it is free of cost. So all government users, for that matter, for any kind of activity, if you wanted to make use of this position infrastructure and services, even the real-time services, so you just need to approach through that CORS service portal to the Geodetic and Research Branch Directorate, and like whatever facilitation you require in terms of uses of these things, they will be extending it.
Thank you, Pankaj. CORS network, as on today, I think 1,000 plus stations are already commissioned, and anyone can use it, and it will give you result within 1 or 2 minutes, precise 2 centimeters. I have one more question for you, but I will come back to you later on regarding VLBI. But okay, Sriraman, cadastral mapping is a challenging task. What challenges are expected based on your experience on such mapping tasks, especially for urban areas?
Yes, I know with the kind of experience that we have in actually doing a lot of property tax projects in urban areas where we have mapped the entire cities and also collected data and created property tax applications, I would like to specifically talk about a few challenges that we are going to face in this particular project. The first one is already Mr. Pankaj sir has talked about the CORS. While we are transferring the CORS coordinates to a particular city, we may be required to transfer a point for almost say 20, 30 odd kilometers. That might take time. Of course, that is one thing which will be there. The property tax records that are there with the municipal authorities, there are already a complete record, and this record is being used to collect the taxes, and this data is being seen as an authentic data. But while we have done many projects, we have seen that many of these records are not true, and there has been a lot of change in the field, and that has not been recorded into the municipal authorities' records. So while we are doing this project and trying to link the property tax data to this 3D data that we are creating using all these three methods that are defined, there will be a lot of challenge for the authorities as well as the people who are going to do it. The second aspect of it is the rovers that we are going to use to actually measure, the area, which we'll be comparing, and we will be actually using it in addition to the 3D data that we are going to create. That accuracy levels, because we are working in an urban area, and while taking any of these points with rovers, it is going to be very difficult. When you use a rover, which is a course-based rover in plain areas, fields, it gives very good accuracy. It also depends on how far that project is from an existing CORS. So I think the second thing that the problem that we will face is while doing this, survey using the rovers. The other thing I would like to mention, though it is not the technical thing, but I think as on date, the infrastructure that is required to use this 3D data that we are creating using any of these methods, the required infrastructure and the required capability may not be available with the states and specifically the municipal authorities. And today we are seeing for each square kilometer we are generating a data about 30 GB, 40 GB. And when multiple such data sets are there, working with the data is going to be a very, very difficult challenge. And if we have to do this entire project in 1 year, I think the preparations for establishing that kind of a data centers, establishing and training people, the RIs who are actually reluctant to do this kind of a property survey, we have seen how much resistance you actually see when you do a property tax project in a city. Though we have done in many cities, and these give a lot of very good result in terms of revenue. So I think these are some of the challenges that we need to address to make this project Naksha successful.
Thank you, Shriram. It looks like my paper has been leaked. You picked up.
We are doing for 20 years. So
You picked up my second question also. Okay, thank you. Thank you. Dr. Ravi, sorry, Pankaj for that. Quality assurance and quality control are two big challenges which any surveying project faces. So what do you think that QA, QC for acceptance of data and what are the anticipated challenges you think?
For the purpose of QA, QC, I definitely believe that the tender document itself or whichever document must bring out what is going to be checked in the deliverables, each of the deliverables. Otherwise, when we go to various states, as Sri Ramam put it, the training levels are what they are in each state. The officials who are checking the data, they go by different parameters based on their own experiences. And that leads to a lot of trouble during the quality acceptance of the data. Forget the officials, even the teams which are checking within the companies after we collect the data, they check as per their own experiences. There is no sort of a checklist on if I have met these 10 criterias in an image or in a LiDAR image or in an ortho interspersed with LiDAR as well. These are the following 10 tick marks I have to do to make my image acceptable. This is one issue which is a major problem which we face wherever we go for quality acceptance of data, be it imagery, be it LiDAR. So our request would be, let it be coming as a part of the tender and let it be coming as a part of the training of the officials who have to check the data. That is where I think the twain shall meet and both the quality checks shall be very clear. While we may, using an aerial aircraft capture imagery within, say, 200 square kilometers in a day, process it and within a month submit it, we find that the quality check itself at our end and at the client end takes 8 months, 9 months, even a year at times. And then, both parties are reticent to accept their fault, whoever's it is. So best thing is that we made a bit of a mathematical process where the checks are done as per a particular list and not left to the imagination. This is one of the greatest challenges we face. Second is in land records kind of a work where we also superimpose revenue maps. As Sri Ramam put it, I would fully agree with him. The data may be of 1925, some cloth map, while it is reasonably fitting into today's environment as well, but there are lines which are to be stretched left, right, or center somewhere to, change the area. And there is photographic evidence that a particular plot of land has a band or a boundary or a fence which is existing today on ground. As per the technological intervention, it is measuring something, but in the records it may be measuring plus minus something. So we need to definitely lay out also that what amount of plus minus is acceptable as a digitization check on these imageries or LiDAR data or whatever we digitize, so that the agency who has done the work is thereafter, they move on unless there is a major change with the data. Post the resurvey, if you want to do it better job, the agency can be brought back. The RFP itself can build in a clause where the agency has a ability to be brought back, and once the resurvey data is ready, to redigitize whatever portions are going beyond that tolerance limit. I think these two actions itself would do a lot of good to the project speed at which it needs to be completed.
Thank you, Pankaj. I fully endorse your views that deliverables and the way the deliverables would be checked by the agency, they need to be very clearly spelled out to avoid any discrepancy, and it really hurts the company when the payments are delayed. So I'm sure, of course, this is not a pre-bid meeting, but I'm sure Survey of India would have taken care of that. Dr. Ravi, what kind of data processing challenges we would have in 3D mapping of urban areas? The Naksha program, which has been launched by DLR, involves 3D data extraction.
Sir, the challenge is actually now the department try to check with all the methodologies, and just I requested the this geospatial media as well as the DLR. We set up our system there with all the three technologies. Data sets are there, and we are showing some live data there so that actually people can see that how it is going to affect. The fundamental principle in urban land records, what we felt is actually the initial acquisition itself, we need to take enough care. Second thing is when we are processing, the controls actually, the ground control network actually should be a stabilized and clear ground control network. Use any technology, this oblique or else on the LiDAR based oblique or else irregular. The point is our ground control should be 100% perfect so that whatever we are measuring, it will sit onto the framework. Second, the measurements. The measurements, what is happening, the big challenge is in the urban segment, we are having the vertical separations and the horizontal separations. This is a very important topic here because in the property ownership, in the urban environment, we are having the horizontal ownerships also there. Apart from the vertical ownership is on the laying out of the multiple group houses, as well as if at all there is apartments. We need to address that challenge also as a horizontal separation for this. Towards this, what will happen is we need to have a clear height definition. Then only we can separate them. And already Sriramo already mentioned that the revenue versus the municipal administration. The big challenge here itself is the land record department, that is the revenue department of the state, is the custodian of the ownership data. The property tax information is into the municipal administration. That's a totally another department. The another challenge here is when you are measuring the property tax, there is a offsets as well as the vacant areas, they will not pose the taxes. That's why the area will be less in the property tax environment. Whereas here we are finalizing the ownership. The ownership is on the open areas as well as on the built-up areas. Because of this change, actually what will happen is, we also need to change our mindset. We are not doing a property tax mapping here. We are doing a ownership setup. Ownership setup will come on the boundary. And if at all it is a vertical rise, we need to have the horizontal separation. Towards this, we need to create a SOP, sir. The SOP will evolve actually based on these pilots, sir.
Thank you, Dr. Ravi. Prashant,
Yes, sir.
what are the practical challenges in Indian context in high-resolution urban mapping, based on your experience?
Yeah. See, it's a very good question, in fact, because the challenges for urban mapping in India, you can take it as a ideal situation, because India is having geographic location, huge geographic extent, and it's having a plain, all types of terrains. Think of vegetation. You have dense forest, dense jungle, with of course high altitude, Himalayas and all. So it's a very complex situation, and the task itself, like the tender which has been floated for pilot itself is of 150 cities. So I said, who does it for 150 cities? It's the pilot. So first of all, it took to my mind, why didn't they do it only for 4 cities and 8 cities and finish it off and find out what are the findings and then roll on the big project. But when I came to know that the actual size of the project is 5,000 cities, and that is why they have chosen 150 as a pilot, then I said, then it's okay, it's India. It only happens in India. So the challenges here in urban context is like the technology, first of all. We are all learning. Like now nobody knows like which technology is good for what. Of course, we have a ballpark figure, but after this pilot project will be done, and when the results will be out and the outcomes will be there, then we'll be in a better commanding position to know what are the drawbacks of each technologies, what are the advantages, and what technology can be used in combination with what. I'm talking about the hybrid technology. Maybe we can use a hybrid scenario also as well. Technology 1 plus 2 for some cities. Not only 1 separately for one city, 2 separately for one city, and 3 separately for some certain cities. We can use, after this I'm talking about. Hybrid means in the outskirts you can use technology 1, in the center you can use oblique, or in some portion can be done by LiDAR. So there can be a mix and match probability also for big cities. So that is my contest and my request for the government department to don't focus on only one city and one technology. You can make a mix and a match and come up with a very good alternative as well.
Thank you, Prashant. Very good suggestion. I think many states will and DOLR will take a note of your suggestion.
Thank you, sir.
Okay, we go to the third round. Pankaj, adoption of latest technology solution is a challenge in workflows. How we are planning to handle it in this project to ensure that this is completed on time?
Sir, adoption of technology is a big challenge actually. Technology availability is not a challenge. Technology availability is there, and a lot of technology solutions are there. So adoption requires a lot of capacity building. With both the stakeholder, like you need to build the capacity with the user also, like Dr. Ravi was telling that Pankaj Fotidar sir was telling about the QA/QC part. You have to build the capacity at the, let's say, government side also, where acceptance is going to be there, the right kind of understanding at a higher level, where the overall strategy or the process will be actually defined and implemented. And you need to develop the capacity at the execution level, where people will be actually checking the data, they will be carrying out the QA/QC, and they need to be skilled for that particular role. Now that is a big challenge, because when it comes to, let's say, industry partners, so they are better placed to handle the skill upgradation part. But here in the government side, we need to actually untrain and retrain people, which is very challenging. But the fact is, if you really don't do it properly, then the ultimate success of the project it depends upon that very key factor. Like Mr. Pankaj was telling, it takes a lot of time to do the acceptance itself, even if you have captured and processed something. So I think when we talk about adoption, we have to be very clear with respect to how these technical work stages needs to be ingested into our production processes, and then what kind of capacities needs to be built. for handling these activities on part of both the stakeholders, so that overall work actually it progresses smoothly. And this is going to be challenging, and we are based on the experiences we had with respect to handling the Swamitwa project and adopting the drone as a survey. So those learnings would be actually applied, and the kind of like learnings we had in terms of implementing other national level projects and the kind of challenges we had faced. So based on all these learnings, it'll be actually doing the capacity building in tandem with the production preparation which is happening. So that people are ready for that particular role which they need to perform, whether it is with respect to making some approvals or with respect to doing some sort of QC, or even with respect to, let's say, checking the plans for executing the work at various stages. So I think this is going to be challenging, but we are also we have the anticipated list of all these kind of challenges, and we are working on it.
Thank you, Pankaj. In fact, you very well brought out that technology adoption in Swamitwa. Just to add on to what Pankaj said, that in 2018 or so, 18 and 19, a drone was nowhere being used in India as a technology or tool for mapping. And when we started introducing this, we had a lot of problem within the department because people were not trained to handle this. They were using conventional methods. So somehow we motivated them, trained them, and we had our own internal pilots, no external agency. And I really appreciate the staff that they, in spite of having age and experience, they still adopted the drone as a technology. And I remember when we were having first meeting with the Honorable Minister regarding Swamitwa implementation, and the first objection came from DLR only, that drone is not a approved technology for mapping. And today the DLR themselves are advocating A, B, C, all drone, drone, drone. So adoption of technology with the time is very, very important, but we need to be very, very careful in accepting that and ensuring that whatever technology you adopt is very, very suitable for a particular task. We move on to the next question to Shri Ramanji. Of course, partially you have already answered, but still I'll ask. Do you think geodetic capabilities are there in the industry partners as they are required to execute these high resolution mapping projects? And if not, then what is to be done?
Sir, I'm very happy you asked this question because I also wear another hat, that is Senior Vice President of AGI, that is Association of Geospatial Industries, where we represent the entire industry and try to work towards betterment of the industry. The capabilities are there. Yes, the capabilities are there for mapping this, and all the three technologies that have been given as a test case for piloting, so that we arrive at the right technology. I think the industry is well equipped to do this. And the only issue that comes in, I have asked this question to many people, though I am digressing slightly from technical side to the commercial side, please pardon me here. We have 150 towns and there are 30 people who are vying for this right now. So if each of you is given 5 cities, it is enough work. And tomorrow we have 1,000 cities, and if there are even 50, 100 companies vying for this, 10 cities for each is enough work. If you are looking at 5,000 towns, it is enough work. The kind of projects that we have, because it's a large volume that needs to be addressed, the capacities need to be built. Today what we are doing, unfortunately, is that we are running after the business in such a way that our pricing and our things are in a different manner as to what the government is looking at. The industry is not able to build further capacity, both in terms of the number of people coming in as well as the technological advancement in terms of R&D. If I say one very, very paradoxical thing, there is no availability of manpower which is trained, which can be deployed in these projects directly where we can hire. But the institute says that we have people who are trained, but there is no company coming and hiring these people. The paradox is coming because we are not able to offer good money to these people who want to come into this particular field. So the industry has a responsibility to build this technology as a, we all know that this is a very, very crucial technology. This is something which the nation is going to be built on. I mean, we should be proud that we are geospatial, and this is the most important technology for taking this nation forward. But this realization should come that we have 3 million square kilometers of the land, and the NGP has said so many foundational layers need to be built. Naksha project, Swamitva project, LSM project. LSM project is still in very nascent stages. The entire country has to be mapped. So my point is that, sir, the capability is there. The technology is there. Like sir has said, adoption is the key. For adopting this technology, do we have the right manpower? Are we able to attract the right manpower to take such huge mapping activities? Unfortunately, today we don't. I think it is on all of us to think about this problem and address this. Thereby, we will be building the capacity, both technically as well as in terms of the number of people required. Like Kunalji was saying that we are all scampering for surveyors right now. Inherently, the problem is we end up paying 15,000 rupees to a surveyor, then nobody is going to come into this industry. So I think we all have something to ponder upon this and look at this problem very seriously, because we have a huge opportunity in terms of, the numbers. I mean, like each project, each initiative that the government is taking is really, really vast. So we need to look on this. I think, thank you, sir.
I think we need to bring MSP in geospatial industry also. Minimum salary package.
Absolutely, I fully agree.
Pankaj, data capturing using different technology solutions require adequate capacity. We're talking about the data capturing, okay. Capacity to deliver. Do we have adequate capacity in the country?
Honestly speaking, an upfront answer is no. If I have to be very honest about it, it is no. Now, the question is that, does the industry have the ability to scale up? I believe yes. But what does the industry need to scale up? Industry needs a forecast, a view over next 5 years, maybe 10 years. If not 10, okay, let it be 5. We need a view that over next 5 years, this is the job you are going to perform 100%. So then the industry is ready to invest. The data capturing instruments, the data capturing vehicles come at a very high cost. If I have to go for a simplistic LiDAR plus camera and an aircraft, it costs me a total of about 20 crores landed once I get it. So if I have to invest into 4 aircrafts to increase my capacity, 4 sets of instruments, it takes me to 80 crores. If I have to get into an oblique camera, it costs me about 20 crores, one camera. So if I have to invest that much of money, maybe 100 crores, I am ready to do that. Provided I have some amount of forecast available to me that I am going to get this job. It's not only about investing into capex. Again, it's the manpower. Do I have the manpower trained in the country to use? Now, what is happening is, again, I'll be a little more forthright in saying this. A surveyor who is hired straight from the company, I make him into an aerial instrument operator. He's doing nothing very earth-shattering. He's ultimately just operating an instrument and operating it well. So I give him, say, 25,000 rupees. Moment he gets trained a little due to paucity, within the companies itself, poaching begins. And the surveyor is making a monkey out of 10 big companies. Because he is shifting every 6 months, he is shifting every 8 months, you can't stop him. So there is a lack of training. So if you have to build this training capacity, pay them adequate money so that they do not run around every country, around the entire country through companies. We have to build that capacity. The industry itself would like to build that capacity, no doubts about it. But then we have to understand that it takes money, it takes investments to build that capacity. For that, we would like a bit of a medium-term, long-term vision on assured work over next 5 years or 10 years.
Thank you, Pankaj. I think very relevant points you made, that until there is a demand and educate forecast, that definitely nobody is going to spend money and keep things idle. Yeah, definitely. And I think over the last, last 3-4 years, sensitization has been done. The use of geospatial technology is must, and Government of India, in any case, is giving a big push, and our Honorable Prime Minister, his dream of digital India involving, including geospatial, is going to be lasting long, and I'll request all industry partners to start investing now. This is the right time to buy geospatial products. Dr. Ravi, have we really evolved checking processes for urban mapping activities? If not, then can you suggest some measures to be taken for the Naksha program?
QC.
Yeah.
QC at two levels, sir. One is on the positional accuracies, that is on the XY coordinate, and the height, that is the Z. Second one is we need to, another biggest challenge actually, the inputs what we are receiving. Sometimes what will happen is because of the, if you use any automatic processing, because in the urban environment what will happen is, each and every facet on the building actually, on the rooftop or else on the periphery is very much essential, important objects. If you use any automatic process, there is every chance we'll miss them. Towards this, what we need to have a checklist at the imagery level, whether the image is complete or we capture all the facets. Second one, can we get the positional accuracies? Third one is once we are doing the feature extraction actually, the feature extraction is for the purpose of the land records, that is the urban land records. Yes, that is the boundaries. That layer we need to specify. After that, we need to specify the features related to the property tax. We need to have a hierarchical feature extraction system so that at every level we can introduce a QC check measures. Apart from that, we can develop certain tools, whether we are actually meeting those requirements, so that we can compare both things. Here, I think artificial intelligence are like some of the tools which we need to develop, which will really, really help us in the processing times.
Thank you, Dr. Ravi. Prashant ji.
Yes, sir.
Before I ask question, I'll just tell the background. Before 2000, Survey of India used to make maps using aerial photographs and using old machines. And totally the feature extraction used to be in 3D, though the output used to be 2D because the machines were analog, but the procedure was 3D only. That through stereo, you reconstruct a feature, reconstruct the terrain, and then do the feature extraction. But from 2000 onwards, because it was a very manual and laborious task, so Survey of India was lagging behind in mapping the entire country. Then the satellite imagery people came in and they provided easy solution. So everybody started adopting high resolution satellite imagery as a mapping tool. So we lost 3D feature extraction in between because it's a laborious, time consuming, and although very, very precise. So I'm very happy that Naksha program involves 3D feature extraction because land is very, very costly and we need to map it very precisely. Now, the question.
Yes, sir.
Feature extraction in 3D has not been in practice for some time. Do you see challenges in this activity? Are you really geared up?
Yes, yes, of course, sir. Nice question. Before I will speak about that background part. Survey of India is having a really, really good background in 3D mapping as well. Because my father retired in 1997, and before retirement, he has already operated on the wild machine, which is in completely manual, and in 3D, aero triangulation, everything, and doing the stereo plotting using feet, hands, and everything. So I know he used to tell me that it's a very, you have to use all your brains, hands, and everything. And I said, what are you doing? He's saying, I'm doing stereo mapping. Got it. So that was the days, those are the days when Survey of India used to do the stereo mapping. And now what has happened? Only you have got more sophisticated instruments. You have got more sophisticated tools. And you have got more sophisticated softwares available with you. Okay, so I don't want to be biased or unbiased to any of the softwares. There are a lot of softwares available in industry as on date. Okay, the only thing is that we are talking about capacity building and training. Okay, so you have to have an adequate knowledge, information, and training to appropriately use these softwares and hardwares and tools to do the 3D feature extraction properly. Now, of course, we are doing 3D feature extraction using some softwares which are already provided by the instrument provider. Okay, now does that mean that will be 100% useful? In some parts it will be useful, but due to the requirement of this new technology, like 3D feature extraction to such a great extent, of course you have to have a lot of capacity building, you have to have a lot of training, intensive training programs, and find out a best possible SOP or the standard operating procedure which can optimize the resources. You have to optimize. Now the only key concept here is optimization. Okay, there might be 1, 2, 3 methods to do that. One method is taking a lot of manpower. One method is taking a lot of instruments or resources. Second is taking a lot of time or something like that. So you have to optimize all these costs also, of course. The third is the cost. So you have to optimize all the 3 parameters in such a way that you come up with an ideal optimistic solution, whereas everything is minimized. Okay, so that gives a best possible solution, I think, for this project, Naksha project.
Yeah, thank you, Prashant, for being precise. See, my job was very difficult because my panelists, they are all experts in their domain. And given opportunity on this subject itself, they can talk for 1 hour. So controlling their emotions and passion, I'm really grateful to all of you. One more question for Pankaj. See, now CORS has been established by Survey of India. And it is state-of-art technology. Many countries, developing countries also have it. Of course, you talked about augmentation also. But like in urban mapping, we talk of millimeter level accuracy. So do you think Survey of India is thinking to bring infrastructure to go for a millimeter level accuracy in terms of VLBI or any other technology?
Sir, in fact, on this particular point about really building the capacities at national level in the geodesy, a very big campaign is going on across the world. This has been a challenge across the world, where the kind of infrastructure, geodetic infrastructure, which has become very old, and that's what the expert says, and this needs to be augmented, particularly to make sure that all our reference frames are in place. So as far as Indian context is there, so there had been discussions with respect to setting up a VLBI, and I think this is what is expected from the global community also, like as part of the geodetic infrastructure at the global level, how actively we can actually contribute to it and be part of it. And when we really augment our this core geodetic infrastructure in line with what is the requirement at the global level, definitely we can augment our reference systems also to higher and higher accuracies actually. So that way, I think already with respect to the kind of SLRs setups or VLBI setups, there are discussions going on. In fact, a big campaign is going on across the world, and they are approaching. There is a center at the Germany which has been established by UNGGIM to address the geodetic requirements in terms of infrastructure across the world. So that campaign is already going on, and there is no doubt like the kind of requirement we have if we see from the future perspective for high definition mapping kind of things. So we'll have to augment it and upgrade it in line with what the global practices are there, and if we really wanted to achieve that higher accuracy levels.
Thank you very much, Pankaj. So that we can expect in future millimeter level accuracy, even when we want to adopt any other technology like autonomous vehicle driving and motor driving and other activities. So with this, since time is, though we started 25 minutes late, but we are finishing on time, and I'm coming. Still, we'll take a few questions. Yeah, please. Give us 5 minutes, please.
just want to know, when we are talking about technology, I think we talk more about the data capturing and data processing. I think the land records also needs to be, in terms of digitalization, I think we have to look at a blockchain as the technology, which is a tamper-proof and a single source of truth. And if this end-to-end is not seen, most of your litigations, I think it was mentioned in the opening remark, most of the litigations on the land records is because everybody has the one land, but many records are there. Everybody says, I'm the owner. I think the biggest challenge will be to how do we integrate the blockchain technology, which is a tamper-proof, a single source of truth, and make sure that the end-to-end technology is applied. Just wanted to share this. I think we cannot miss out that. I think since we are doing a POC now, I think this is where we need to start. That requires a tremendous amount of people and talent pool. Because I don't think you have many people, you don't like the mass available in the blockchain. It requires a lot of training. People from the academics, we need to train that. It's a very, very massive work. Otherwise, we win the war and lose the battle. Just wanted to bring
very relevant and very important question, and though we have not discussed in this session because there are many other, we have more sessions also, because all other issues cannot be discussed within 1 hour. But it's very relevant point, and we need to, Government of India also and academia also need to work on this. Thank you so much. We'll take a note of this and we'll pass it on to the government. Yeah, please. Can we hand over the mic to him? Yeah, okay. Please introduce yourself and...
Yeah, I am Manar and I work with Sri Ramam sir in NeoGeo. So I think much of it is spoken, but we do handle a lot of these land record, urban and rural and all that kind of things. Sometimes I wonder that all these are being done by different companies, different people, different technologies, different government agencies which are validating and all that. Are we creating a very heterogeneous kind of map of India in some way? And how do we homogenize that? Like, if I have to take a couple of examples, there are regulations that we cannot fly above 120 meters or something like that in drone and try to capture. But there is an argument that with higher resolution cameras, you can get the ground level measurements proper and all that.
Mapping, yeah.
So these kind of arguments are both the ways true, and it has been pulled by that side and this side, and finally, and when, let me also say this, the local bodies which are validating all this information, who are our clients, they do not have any expertise on validating it. And what will happen is, what may happen, I'm envisaging, and then where we may have a challenge is that even like Naksha and all, if we do it, 5 years down the line, everything may have to be redone again, because you have such a mosaic of data which has been prepared by multiple companies, multiple technologies, multiple validating agencies.
Thank you. I got your point. See, this is where we discuss one of the point, QA/QC. That is one, because we need to ensure standards. If you can enforce standards, then this problem won't come. Regarding drone flying, 5 years back, you couldn't even fly 1 meter also. Now at least the government has given you 120 meters. And slowly, with the experience and with the technology, with other safeguards, once they're convinced, government will allow you to fly higher also. I think that is a policy issue, not a technological issue.
Yes, sir, you're right, sir.
So I think there will be other sessions also. Those will be debating about other things also. I think we noted your point.
One point,
please.
One last
I
point.
think because we are saying, like Sanjay mentioned,
Okay.
we have 30 speakers.
Okay. Okay.
So we need to follow some discipline in timing also. But we can discuss over a cup of tea.
Okay, sir.
Yeah. Any other question? I think with this, if anyone you have any question, we can discuss over a cup of tea.
Can I just make one sentence? I think harmonization, I think CORS has to be mandated in every geospatial project from now onwards, because not only the accuracy, it serves as the reference frame. I think that needs to be done for making this data available for future generations.
Very true.
course has to be mandated for every survey, everything that is done in geospatial. That is not being done. I think, sir, I request Survey of India to actually mandate this.
I think Survey of India is a service provider. Like Naksha program, it is mandated in that this URS has to be used. So I am sure slowly and slowly we'll keep debating and keep accepting or adopting new technologies. So it will take time. So at the end of it, I'll convey my sincere thanks to all my fellow panelists for a wonderful debate and discussion and giving us insight on various technology and the theme which was given to us. And once again, I am thankful to DOLR and Sanjay and his team for giving me this opportunity to moderate this wonderful session. Thank you so much. Jai Hind, Jai Bharat.
Thank you. The
Thank you.
3D
Thank you,
missions
our
are
esteemed
available
speakers.
right through the day. If you want, you can see that actually, the data.
We'll take a group photograph. Everyone, we have a short networking break for half an hour. I would request everyone to please join us back in half an hour for the next round of panel discussion. Thank you. We had a great networking session. I would request everyone at the back to please take your seats. We are about to begin with the next set of panel discussion. Thank you so much. All right, moving on to the next panel discussion. It is going to be about data integration and harmonization, the backbone of urban land records digitalization. For this, I would request the session chair, Mr. N.K. Sudhanshu, IAS Settlement Commissioner, Government of Maharashtra, and DG Yashoda Pune, to please join us on the stage, and his fellow panelist, Mr. Joshua, Chief International and National Engagement Branch, Geography Division, US Census Bureau, USA, Mr. Chris Chambers, Deputy Director, Geospatial Commission, UK, Mr. Uday Kumar, DDG, National Informatics Center, Government of India, Mr. Krishna Rao, General Manager, ESRI India, Mr. Sandeep Goyal, Additional Project Director, Madhya Pradesh State Electronics Development Corporation Limited, Government of Madhya Pradesh, and Dr. VSS Kiran, Founder and CEO, Garuda Analytics. Mr. Sudhanshu, over to you.
DOLR and Geospatial World for not only organizing this symposium, but bringing forth an issue which was very important for a long time, but was never brought to the fore. And in the next 10-15 years, it is going to occupy, at least in state government, it is going to occupy a lot of time of the administrators. The last session was on mostly on the technical side, so most of the technocrats were present here. And this panel consists of not only technocrats, but people from the policy domain and the administration. So we'll have a discussion ranging from technology to policy making and implementation of the schemes. So we have a very distinguished panel here. We have Mr. Joshua from Census Bureau, USA, Mr. Chris from Geospatial Commission, UK, Mr. Uday Kumar from NIC, Geospatial Division, Mr. Krishna Rao from ESRI, Dr. Sandeep Goyal from Madhya Pradesh, and Dr. VSS Kiran from Garuda Analytics. So this issue today for this discussion, for this panel, is data integration and harmonization, the backbone of urban land record urbanization. When I was coming and I was trying to think about this topic, one thing which came into my mind as to why this is a situation now where in terms of digitization of land record, the textual part we say, and in the morning also Satyathis has said, we all agree in India that we have made quite a rapid advance where we have digitized the textual part of the record, land record. However, the cadastral part is lagging. And why is it so? Is it an issue of technology? Is it an issue of focus? What is it? So I was thinking and discussing with some of my colleagues, and I could realize that it is not an issue of technology. It is not an issue of state governments or national governments putting focus on this. It was just the demand from the ground. Why is it so? Because all the transactions, we were having more agricultural lands. So the transaction pressure was not there. The monetization of lands that now we see in peri-urban areas and urban areas was not there. So even paper-based or even the textual transactions, textual data was sufficient. Now with a lot of urbanization, a lot of monetization, need for monetization, infrastructure projects, a lot of transactions start happening. And as we do more number of transactions, the boundary disputes come into picture. And the more the boundary disputes come in picture, more we need the maps. Creation of maps and validation of boundary was always very, very time-taking and costly because it requires surveyors, technology on the ground. However, changes in the textual record can be done in the office. You apply to some office, maybe Talati or Patwari somewhere. Person takes into account some documents and does the transaction, does the changes. So that is how I think now, with a lot of urbanization, we are in a situation where we need to move fast. And today we have technology. In the first session, we have already discussed that not only we have technology, but we have policy support from the Government of India. And states are also moving very fast. I am working in Government of Maharashtra, and from the 1st of December this year, we in Maharashtra are measuring and surveying every land now on from 1st of December based on CORS network and rovers. So whatever we measure from now on and give as a result of it any map, it will be totally georeferenced and with latitude and longitude uploaded on our GIS portal, available for people to not only see, but get it downloaded with a digital signature. So with this background, let me invite Mr. Uday Kumar first with focus on what is it that government is doing and what are the plans that government has as of now at the country level to bring this issue of geospatial technology in urban administration or urban land administration to the fore, and also support the states, because support to the state is very important. State, probably not all the states have that technology, and they require a lot of hand-holding. What is it that Government of India is planning and doing?
That over the last 15 years, NIC has been involved in digitizing the land records. I won't say that it is georeferencing, but it is digitizing the land records. And wherever the georeferencing has been attempted, like in AP, where they have started off just now, reorganization, that is also being used. And Naksha, our software, which is being implemented across 20 states, it is being used for looking at the land parcel, where it is and how it is. Second thing, in the DLRMP project, which NIC had attempted, is the creation of Alpin, unique land parcel information. That is a very unique way of identifying a land. You give any coordinates, polygon, once it is georeferenced, of course. Once it is georeferenced, you can locate it on the map. So we have done, you can also do a reverse. You have a KML, you can get a Alpin. You have a Alpin, you can locate it on a map. So that, I think that will be the basis for data harmonization going forward. So we have a 2D Alpin which is already in place, and once states gear up for land records and do georeferencing, then every land parcel will have a LPIN, 2D LPIN. Then once Naksha project comes, we'll be working on creating a 3D LPIN, which can be extended to the third dimension. So work has to start, and we'll be initiating that. And that will be one major step forward. We look forward. Naksha is a very revolutionary step as far as urban land records are concerned. And we fully support the program, and we extend all our support to DOLR for whatever extent it is required.
Thank you, but a follow-up question on this. Because we have been using, all of us know about Bhunaksha portal, and now we have seen Swamitva maps being uploaded and being used in various portals. Now with Naksha project coming in, all these three are coming from the states. And there's always a discrepancy which we have in Maharashtra also faced. How do you sync it with maps from other states? And within Maharashtra also, or within state also, we have data relating to cadastral map as well as in the ROR coming from various departments. So what are the challenges that you face handling the maps?
In georeferencing, there is really quite a challenge. And there is a concept called whole-to-part approach, where you limit the error within a village, whatever error is happening, so that harmonization can take place. We have integrated, I have done a small POC for DOLR, where we have integrated, that is called Matrubhumi, where we have integrated data from different sources, which is a georeferenced data. We brought from Bihar, we have got data from Gujarat, and all these places we have brought. And we have integrated, we have seen that fine. There are problems, which I think it is more to be tackled at the state level rather than at our level. But you can, once you have complete understanding of this approach of whole to part, and limiting the error to a village, when you mosaic it and georeference it, you can achieve good harmonization of data.
Thank you. Mr. Joshua, can we know from your experience, how do you handle data relating to land records in your organization? Thank you.
Yeah, so I'm a geographer with the U.S. Census Bureau. So I'm within a statistical body. So I'm really coming at this from a different perspective than many of the conversations that we've had so far. So not from technical, geospatial, positional reference, but using the data as a reference, as a data user, and as a secondary aggregator. So using it as a reference. And we have a similar system in the United States in terms of a federated system where states create the data, localities create the data, and at the federal level, we're aggregating that up into a single unified national data set, which so we have very similar challenges. And that aggregation, that creating the national frame, I'm glad that we're speaking about this now, because one of the things that we have found is just how, forgive the phrase, but how ruthlessly you need to enforce standards across the board. And that's for everyone's sake. And I see us at the federal level, at the U.S. Census Bureau, when data is provided to us, that we really need to strongly create that standard framework, communicate it to our data producers, our data partners at the state and local level, and then make sure that they're adhering to those standards. So we help at an advisory and standard setting level. But I'm glad earlier the distinguished Secretary Kunal mentioned metadata in his comments, and that is crucial. I know we've spoken a lot this morning about positional accuracy, enforcing positional accuracy and all the different methodologies and technologies. But along with that is the metadata. Because with all due respect, without the metadata, without that information about that parcel or that boundary, it simply lines on a map. And so you need that metadata, you need all those administrative records that link through to that unit, that parcel of land, and that's what really unlocks the value. And so we at the Census Bureau, we see that as the link between the surveys and census data, the demographic data, the economic data that we collect, and the point on the ground. That's where that link happens, is at that parcel level. Whether it's the centroid, whether it's a building identifier, that's where that link happens that unlocks that value. And as someone who has worked with other administrative records, other data sets from other urban planning, and again, states, cities, you know, that strict enforcement of metadata at the very granular level is what allows you to then unlock the power of geo AI that we've talked about machine learning. Without that rigorous metadata, a lot of that is not going to be realized. And so while it can be very boring, a different code and maybe the data format for that column and metadata, that's what can be make the critical difference, whether you need to spend hundreds of staff hours correcting and cleaning because one of your data providers didn't follow the metadata accurately. And you know, the difference between just unlocking that and being able to implement the GeoAI, the machine learning, whatever it is that you're trying to do with that data. So with that, I'll conclude.
Thank you, but a follow-up question to you. Since you're handling a lot of data, including the geospatial data, do you have privacy issues transferring or you know, handling the data, transferring it to others, maybe government bodies, even showing it to people, public?
Yeah, no, we absolutely do, and that is part of the integration of administrative records from other government agencies, from public users, from our public. One of the things that I can say that we're struggling with right now is, from a geospatial perspective, what exactly is private? What data should be private? What is disclosive? What is it that needs to be private, and what could be released? And right now we have been struggling for some time because there was a ruling some decades ago that addresses, so just a building identifier, is potentially disclosive. And so we, you know, adhere to the policies, and that is the policy. But at the same time, we have been trying to work to explain to people outside of the geospatial community that, you know, simple position of a housing unit is not necessarily disclosive. It's the data tied to it, right? The demographic data, the personally identifiable data of the people living there, you know, of each individual person there. That's disclosive. But the presence or absence of a housing unit, or the address of that housing unit, maybe we could rethink that. So that's something that I would submit is, again, careful planning ahead of time. You know, thinking about how you're going to structure these things, you know, what data needs to be held close and what can be shared ahead of time, and really thinking about how other data users will be using that data is I think, a critical discussion to have as early as possible in the process, and get those, you know, your data producers and data users in the room to plan that out ahead of time as early as possible.
Thank you. A quick discussion on this, because we are also facing in India, and especially in the States, we also face the same issue, because we have developed the data and we have been doing transaction of the data as we developed it, meaning every state has its own system, and within a state also we have different departments generating different data. And now we are in the process of integrating all the data, for example, the property tax data, the electricity data, land record data, and encumbrance related data. Everything is being integrated. So now by default, what we show, and which is available for everybody to see from the portal, is anybody's land and related details. When I say details, it also includes map related details, and it will also, wherever georeferencing has happened, it will also include the coordinates, centroids, etc. All those details are there. And since there is no, I mean, it depends a lot on interpretation, there is no standard on what to collect and how to share and what to share. So by default today, as of now, probably we are exposing all the data that we are collecting. May not be exposing to the public, but we do not have a guideline. So we are also struggling on that issue.
What if I could just very briefly, just to, in terms of metadata and the need to set these standards and a full understanding, deep understanding across the board. I was working on a project where we were taking mortgage records, so bank loan records, and trying to integrate that into the census data and see what we could harvest to get that together. So there was an agreement that for the housing and urban development data, they had to collect the sex of the property owner. And that's what we were interested in getting, was the sex. And there were some other government agencies that we were looking at their data as well. So there was a column that said sex on that. We were using male, female, or unknown. Another agency was using 1, 2, 3 to designate the same thing. There was another agency that was using 1, 2, 3, but one was male, and in the other records, one was female. So we had such a time trying to harmonize this data, and there really wasn't good documentation for that. And so just these simple things caused us hundreds of hours of just calling people and having meetings and trying to figure this out. And so anyway, I just share that anecdote.
Thank you. Coming to Mr. Krish, your experiences on geospatial, in Geospatial Commission in UK, on handling the urban land records, if you can focus on it.
Yeah, sure. Thank you. So I'm from the Geospatial Commission in the UK, which is the central department for geospatial across the whole of UK government. And we're involved in policy making, but also major interventions where there's market failure around geospatial. So really importantly for in the UK at the moment, there is a big drive by the new government to get to deliver 1.5 million new homes in the next 5 years. So really around urbanisation, because the UK is a small place. It feels very small compared to India, and it's a very small place. We haven't got much spare land, so there are real challenges around where we should build, what we should build. So some people say put houses there, some people say put wind farms there, some people say put prisons there. Not many people say prisons, but there's a difference in sort of demand on that land. But the reason I say that is that government is taking geospatial data really seriously at the minute, because it sees the value that it brings. So across government, there are 100 projects which are seen as major importance to the Prime Minister. And 3 of those 100 across the whole of government are related to this exact problem. So there's one which I lead, which is called the National Underground Asset Register, which I'll talk about in a bit more detail in a minute. But that's developing a map of where all the pipes and cables are in the UK. So all gas, water, electric, telecoms, sewage, etc. The second is something called the Local Land Charges Programme, and that's run by His Majesty's Land Registry. They're the people that register the land. And that's a massive digitisation programme, where they're working across all local authorities to standardise information about what is where, because things like conservation areas, things like sites of special scientific interest are not captured in a standard way across all the local authorities. So a real interesting standardisation piece there. And then the third one is called the Digital Planning Programme, which is trying to streamline the process of identifying what you want to build or buy and where it is, and getting people to actually buy it in a much shorter space of time. So making all that data available digitally rather than having to send letters to each other. So focusing on my program, the National Underground Asset Register, what we're doing is actually taking data from 650 different organisations, gas, water, electric, telco, and local authorities. And the only standard thing is that none of their data is standard. it is all different. It's captured in different processes, it's stored in different standards, it's been captured to different specifications. It is an absolute mess. But it's really valuable. You know, we've identified £500 million a year of benefits from bringing all that data into one place and making that securely accessible. So a big part of our work is actually not, and we've taken a different approach to it. We haven't gone out and said, capture your data to this standard. What we've done is worked with the Open Geospatial Consortium to create an international standard for how that data should be stored. So we've created the database that we've got, a huge database, and we've created the new MUDI model with the OGC, and we're the first implementation of that. So what we have decided is we will take data in whatever format it's provided to us. It is sometimes really not nice, but we take the data and we do the data transformation on the behalf of the asset owners to take it from that local hosting into the central repository. The reason we did that was we didn't want to put a burden on the data providers to 650 of them doing the data transformation and supplying it once. It was really inefficient compared to us doing the data transformation on their behalf. So we did those data standards, and we're really pleased with the results so far. Interestingly, just to touch on maybe one of the points on security, we had a really good debate yesterday on open data in one of the forums, the AEC forums, because as standard, the UK government has taken a position that data should be open. However, there are 3 places where data should not be open. The first of which is personal data. So you mentioned about personal data not being accessible. That's absolutely right. That's the same in the UK. So we don't publish people's health data, we don't publish their wages, etc. So we keep that data is not open, even though we might know it. The second bit is actually for security reasons. So, for example, the National Underground Asset Register, or NUAR, will never be open because there are 2 significant risks. The first is a risk to national security from the data falling into the wrong hands. The second is because of commercial issues around telecommunications wanting to see each other's data and trying to compete with each other. So there's issues around sort of security reasons. And the third is actually around commercial purposes. So data is valuable. Data is really valuable. Sometimes people sell data. So we have implemented a mixed model of data licensing. So some data in the UK is open, fully open. And when I say open, I better just define that. It means open data for us means it's completely free and the user can use it for whatever they mean, whatever they want. That is the only definition of open data that we sort of recognize rather than free. So we do some of our data is open, but not everything. Some of the data is free. So for example, the same data might be available for free for charities, for small businesses, but it comes with a license, so they can't just pass it on to whoever they want to. They can use it for certain purposes. And the third area is what we call premium data, where it's paid for. So for example, some data from Ordnance Survey, who we oversee their work, some data from Ordnance Survey is sellable, and it sells to large companies for £5-6 million a year. And what we do is we take that money from the big companies and we use it to reduce the cost of government capturing the data. So it's a really interesting mixed model that we've developed over the last 8 years in the UK to try and both make data accessible because it's most valuable when it's used, but also to mitigate those personal data concerns, the commercial concerns, and the national security concerns. So I suppose to summarise, geospatial data is seen as highly valuable in the UK at the minute, especially in solving those urban land use issues and decisions. There are some data standards. Again, to reiterate your point, data standards is really critical. There's a question about are the data standards at a local level or a central level, I think is a really interesting question. And then making that data accessible, I think we need to change the conversation from open or not open to it's, where on a pendulum does it sit? And on that pendulum, sometimes it'll be fully open, sometimes it'll be fully closed, other times it'll be nearer to closed than open, other times it'll be nearer to open than closed. at the minute, it's too simplistic a conversation that says it has to be open or it has to be closed. And I think we need to change that narrative around how that data can then be used for the use of land use in registration. Because we can't publish title information as open data. That would lead to real risks where people take land ownership, take ownership of the property, via fraud, and that's not okay. But nor should it be fully closed as it's valuable information.
Thank you. But do you have a body or regulator or maybe a regulation which dictates how this data flows, who gets access to this data, and not only for the geospatial area, but data flow will happen between any department on any other issues?
Yeah, lots. a bit too much maybe. I think what we started our program, the National Underground Asset Register, for example, on a voluntary basis. So we went to the asset owners and said, give us your data, please. Here are the benefits. Please get involved. And we found that about 50% of them got involved voluntarily. But we realized in order to achieve those sort of significant benefits on an annual basis, that legislation had to be brought in. So I was actually on a Teams call on Monday night where we had our minister, Baroness Jones, was in the House of Lords laying legislation for this exact reason. So it's a very live topic at the minute that says, government needs to have the data, therefore you have to provide it to us rather than we want you to. And government should be able to use it for whatever purpose it deems fit. So I think voluntary participation gets you so far, and it's a good place to start, but actually when it's in the public interest to have a complete data set that's current, you need to have that legislation. Because we were having a conversation before, it is not people's day job normally to collaborate. Their day job is normally focus on on my individual profits, on my individual objectives. Collaboration is sometimes, 5% of someone's job. So sometimes government, I think, more and more regularly, government needs to step in to make sure that central government, I should say, step in to say, well, actually, this is so important for the whole nation that we're going to legislate for it.
Thank you. Very interesting model, because they started with voluntarily sharing the data and then coming to legislate on the same issue. Dr. Sandeep Goyal, coming from Madhya Pradesh, a lot of work being done in processing the data, integration of various departments, especially revenue related data in Madhya Pradesh happening now. Your comments?
Yeah, in fact, before coming to this point, with the permission of Chair, I would like to share two things. And especially I want that we all should think of these 2 points which I think which are very important. So first is that in government, we always talk about the governance and all. In last 34 years of my journey, we are talking about that government is responsible for the governance. This governance has changed to e-governance in the journey. But most of the time, it was a reactive governance. A person is coming to me, I'll see what can I do if I think I can do it. But now the time is changed. We are moving from reactive governance to proactive governance, responsive governance. That we need to be proactively think that what exactly we are going to deliver to the citizens, number one. And now, from this proactive, it is going to futuristic governance. That down the line in next 5 years, what should be the requirement of my citizens and what governance model we should build that we should be able to cater our citizens, our people in a better way. Now coming to the second point, we are talking about the data harmonization and all. The most important thing is that the legacy data, what we are having, since the inception of the country, when we got the independence and we started the journey, or rather before that, if you talk about for last 200 years, we are collecting a lot of data in various forms, whether it is maps, text and all. Now that legacy data, do you think that with the modern technologies we were discussing today in the first session, is this legacy data is going to be useless? I don't think so. Only thing is that we need to find the ways that how we can really integrate this legacy data, or how should we harmonize this legacy data with the modern technologies, which is the topic of this session and which is very important. So now coming to your question, sir, these are the two thoughts which I wanted to convey because we are focusing on this. And while taking this as a motto, when we started journey of integrating various data sources. So most important was the revenue data, the cadastry, the land ownership, ROR, the property ownership, and then various other systems. For an example, my energy department, they are distributing a lot of subsidies to the electricity consumers. So I got a problem from the department that there are areas where the posh bungalows are there in the capital of MP, but there are subsidies being delivered. They are getting the benefit of the electric subsidies. We tried to integrate both those two data, even though it was a difficult task because there was no common factor by which we can integrate the property data and the consumer data. Both are the legacy data, it is available. We have the property register available. Now it is digitized. We have also gone one step ahead that we marked those properties on geospatial data. We have the building footprints and we have tagged the building footprints with and linked with the property register. But it is being used by the urban local bodies. Now we have the data of consumers, electricity consumers. We try to integrate them. We took a small area and did that exercise. And surprisingly, that out of 600 bungalows or the properties in that area, I won't say all the bungalows, 600 properties in that area, where the cost of the property is very high in crores, 151 places, properties, we found that they are taking the electrical subsidy. How? And then the top level governance structure, my additional chief secretary himself went to the ground and checked those points and found that it is correct. So this is the way of governance we now think for. That how to really integrate various data sources to bring the model in such a way that the citizens who are eligible for something should not be deprived, and those who are not eligible should not abuse the system. And that is what is happening most of the places. Morning, Kunal sir was talking about the registry systems and all. We have recently launched a project called Sampada 2.0, where we have integrated all this data. This is very true that we all know that since a child is born in the country, till the death of that person, the child borns, you register, goes to school, get education, get the job, buy some property, buy some vehicle, you have got all the data available. Only thing is that how to integrate that data, how to harmonize that data. So in Sampada 2.0, and all the time we are asking the person, okay, you want to buy this vehicle? Give me your details. Give me this paper, this paper, this paper, that paper. Why? Government has got all the data. Why not you validate? I say that I am this person. Now you validate that I am this person and what are my ownerships and what I am eligible for. So we try to integrate in several systems this way, that the person declares that this is the land property, this is the property, this is the land parcel which I want to sell. Now the system should tell who is the owner. What is the use of that land, whether it is an empty land or it is a diverted land or it is a constructed land, whether it is a building, whatever it is, whether it is a commercial, residential, the purpose of it. And the valuation should be done by the system. Yes, I will declare that my property value is this much. I am selling on this rate, but whether it is the correct rate or not, the system should determine. And that way, we have launched this system which is faceless and paperless. All the validations are coming from different sources, and it is fixing that this property is going to be transacted, which belongs to X and Y is buying, and then this transaction is getting completed. So this is how we need to, yes, challenges are there, always there. So we are talking about Naksha program, which is launched by the DOLR. Yes, it is a difficult task. I think all the state agencies, including we at MP, we are having sweats on our forehead, and we are going to start with trembling hands because a lot of challenges are there. But certainly, at this point of time, we need to take the lead because the urban property records have got lot of challenges. Accuracy, morning session, people were discussing about the positional accuracy, several type of systems. Yes, there is no one solution which can be applied for all type of data collection and surveys. We need to really do different type of integration of technologies to find a solution. But yes, the most important thing is the challenges which are there on ground, those who will be doing the ground survey. Sir, you said that textual data has been digitized, but I'm telling you that the most of the biggest challenge is going to come in that textual data only. Map data, we have the technology by which we can get very accurate data. But when we are integrating the textual data, the record of rights, that. So my friend was telling that at place it is written that this person XYZ and is a female. But on another record you are finding XYZ, the same thing with the different sex. This is just one small example. We are having several such type of issues which we are going to face. But we need to really find out that we need to study very carefully that what should be the schema, what should be the key factors which we need to make the changes in our record of rights. What all attributes we need to add in record of rights to really find out where we can challenge these issues. And for that, we need to study various use cases and very carefully. And critically also. That we cannot say that what MP has done is very good or what Kerala is doing is excellent. Something we need to pick up from here, something we need to pick up. And third major challenge which we are going to face is... Okay.
We have to listen to other two.
Just last thing, sir. Because the data is stored in various languages, so the translation or transliteration of the data also creates sometimes a lot of challenges. Recently, just very funny example it is. So one of my person picked up some information from one of the department portal and then placed it. And it was written, when I read that note, it was written measles. I said, measles in the data? What it is? So I found that because it was done in hurry, so the khasra, we call the land parcel khasra transliteration, measles was done and that person published it and it was published. So this also happens. So just, I just wanted to make everyone a little lighter mode, but we need to...
Working on legacy data is an issue, and that is why rural Swamitva is going to be different, or rather urban Swamit is going to be, Naksha project is going to be totally different from what we did in Swamitva. Maharashtra, by the way, has a system of city survey, and we know, even though we resurvey the entire city as and when the survey gets born, city gets born, but we realize the issues that we face, and that's why even for a city survey of a small city takes tens of years, 8, 9, 10, 15 years it takes. So it's a challenge. Now, coming to Mr. Rao, how can we have systems or softwares which will lessen the issues that are faced by simple surveyors or officers or staff in the land record department or in the revenue department, especially focusing on the geospatial data?
Yeah, thank you, sir. Good afternoon, all. There is very interesting, coming back, while I come back to answer you, there is a very interesting thing which we have to answer, look in when you look at this whole project. You see, there are various projects which have been done by various state governments, and the source of data and the scale at which these things have been created all have been different, right? And schema level changes are there. So in order to, if you want to look at the data harmonization as a game in here, we need to have a schema level where we have to create a very robust schema for the new project, what we are thinking in, where we have to harmonize all these data sets. If you are not going to do at a schema level, at a robust data model is not being built, this is going to be another just like a project. I think many of my colleagues have spoken in here about the same. So I think the root cause and the root thing is we should hit at that data model. Once you harmonize all of that at that schema level, I think the next things becomes a quite a very easy one. And schema is not going to happen over a day or two. It needs a lot of brainstorming because it is again not harmonized across every state. Every state has followed their own standards. So I was just talking to Sir to that, and then I think a good step has been taken to derive at a standardization of this, so that now everybody at a policy level can standardize this. So now coming to the tools, basically, you know, when you choose a technology, you should be very wise enough in choosing the technology. So typically we see in government that cost is the only factor where mostly it is being taken in. But I think you should look at the capabilities of what these softwares can bring. See, one wrong of technology can lead to a big disaster. I'm sure you would have seen in last 3 months, some of the major corporates and some state governments landed in a major vulnerability. What happened? And you know what the technology was used and why it happened. And that led to it. And you know, there was also a bargain happened that you need to pay the money in form of bitcoins to get your data released. So that's the kind of thing. So a choice of technology should be very wise, which should be like the topic was discussed about cybersecurity. So when you're choosing this technology, is this cybersecurity aware, or all those places or things are there or not? And efficiently, when you look at the tools for this particular project, this should be very handy. I think we should think more on like what are those ready-made tools in the market, instead of getting into development, and then the development cycle itself will take away a lot of your time. You should think in for those technologies which are readily deployable so that you can start your work. And of course, they're all well vetted for the cybersecurity and other issues. So that's where I think you should be very wise enough to select the geospatial tools. And definitely you need to maintain open standards, otherwise, you know, data interchange and all of those things will not happen.
Thank you. Dr. Kiran, I'm sure you are doing a lot of data crunching and use of AI ML. State governments particularly lack this skill and also the resources in India. How do you think you or companies and vendors like you can bring value to this issue with the state governments?
Thanks, sir. So I just put in the 2 ways. First, regarding it's true, the lack of resources, the manpower which has raised by the previous panels also. To fulfill that, the automation is very important. Okay, that for the last year, the two use case I could put here, where we try to implement the automation in one of the state to reduce the manpower for these LPM generations or the stone map, traverse map, different maps, the set of maps we have to generate to get the property ownership certificate we should disperse. And that usually the single surveyor can take 5 to 6 days to complete one single land parcel. That's one of the different toughest challenge. And another thing, the data come to the different sources because the ORS comes from the different vendors, then the other the important information coming from the maps from the Naksha portal. To integrate all those things and generating, that is one of the major challenge. I mean, the huge surveyors of the people on the ground, the user-friendly application, and people should adopt that when they have to generate the map. That is one of the, again, an important challenge. To bridge this gap, initially it's a very tough challenge. We got a lot of errors. The accuracy was very less, 60-70%. But somewhere we have reached it to more than 98% accuracy to generate those maps. And we reduced this 5 days to 6 days manpower to just 5 to 6 minutes. And that we implemented that. And a huge number of maps are generated in such shorter span of time that all 250 plus surveyors got adopted and start utilizing this, because only you have to give the input. Then the system will take the entire thing to generate the final output. The point which I would like to highlight regarding we discussed the legacy data and textual data. It's a very tough challenge to convert this textual data to the proper schema and the data models. So what we have to do, just to put one more use case, because this, the use case when we started develop, we have to thanks to Survey of India, because they have given the chance to develop this model, because one of the major challenge to convert very old historical data to identify the journeys of the survey journals to identify that. So where we develop the textual models like entity recognition models and other models, where we convert the text data to directly to the geospatial data model, automatically convert and place as per the needs. So, but lot of the data and a lot of the trainings is required, it's a huge time is needed. But yes, as I said, textual data, we have certain dependencies that what we have to take, what not to take. So if the model is ready at the central level, so then these models, AI models, can train only those words. We don't need the entire words. Like if we have to generate the property, like I can talk about the PPM for under the Naksha and all. So what we need the name of the owner. We need when it was generated the first time, the property has registered whose name, when it's transferred, then the area is important thing. Then you need the 4 corners of the lat long. So what are the information you require if the textual data is available? Only we have to convert those and store into the particular schema. So if the schema is standardized, models is standardized, the conversion is possible. But again, one of the important challenge regarding the languages, recently we have seen one other important thing to convert the Tippan maps, and those all after discharging the Tippan's automation, but to getting the measurements with respect to the angle, and also the written in the very different styles in the handwrittens. So handwritten still the models is not that much matured, but normal the printed text, yes, it's matured, and we can able to convert completely, because we implemented, recently we implemented the defense also to convert all the textual data to the complete database levels. That's all you want to put forward. Thank you.
Thank you. We have about 14-15 minutes now, so we can have few questions from the audience if you have, and then if time permits, we can come back for a quick round of final thoughts from the panel. Yeah, please.
Hello, my name is Harsha. I'm from Open Geospatial Consortium. Thank you, Chris, for championing the OGC cause in the UK with the Muddy model. So the question here is, not the question, but the recommendation coming out, sir, because for the Naksha project, right, can we have an approach to have a schema prescribed in the Naksha project RFP itself, so that the data can be collected at the schema level? Because The problem that I have come across through discussions in the Samvitva project is that each state was prescribing its own attributes to be collected. One state was prescribing 4 attributes, some were giving 15 attributes. So for a small SME who wants to optimize his projects or their projects for data collection, they found it as a challenge. So their recommendation was, in one of the discussions, is we should have a schema in every project the national government prescribes in these mission mode kind of things. So that's the point that I want to have a view from the esteemed audience, esteemed speakers on the dais. Thank you.
I think it's a very good suggestion, and we are now in the process of preparing the RFP for collection of data in Maharashtra for 10 cities. And this is, I think, the point that we have missed. I mean, at our level, we are certainly doing it, but then we are now speaking at the national level. Certainly, this is something which is lacking, and maybe we will share, maybe we'll combine with other states and also collect RFPs from them. And we'll try and share with DOLR so that we can come up with a standard in the RFP itself, so that once the RFPs are done and vendors are in place, then it will be very difficult to come back and correct the models. But as you also know, as part of the discussion, the data model is being discussed in, standard for data model is being discussed in DOLR, and there's a group which is working on it. Maybe very soon we'll have a standard of data collection with respect to land coming out as a guideline from DOLR.
One of the outcomes perhaps of this Naksha project will be, because this is a POC, we are anyhow calling it a POC, is a uniform schema across, one for the cadastral, one for the urban land records, and their harmonization in some way. That should be one of the outcomes of this Naksha project. We have seen, while dealing with Matrubhumi project also, each land is defined in a different way within a state. Even if you take one state like Andhra Pradesh, there are 3 regions and they follow different nomenclature for the same land. But at the national level, if you want to address that across, and somebody wants to buy a property, some Tamil Nadu, he is coming to Andhra, or UP, somebody is coming to Maharashtra. So there should be a common denominator of adopting the standard. That is one thing which should be an outcome of all these deliberations. The second is, even for the urban land records, actually you see there are 3 agencies who are playing their part in this process. Sir knows better. One is the land records department, other is the municipality, third is registration department, and fourth one is ULBs. Harmonization of all this data, I would suggest, I'll request sir to throw some light, how we can harmonize across all these different, though it seems they are verticals, they have to be integrated in some way, somewhere.
It's a very nice, it's a very important issue which we are actually handling. In India, as we understand, all the states have their own terminologies, and then not only terminologies, but their meanings also, interpretations also are dependent on their laws. So we in Maharashtra, DOLR has sanctioned us a Center of Excellence in Land Administration at Yashda, where I'm currently working. And we are now working on collecting all the terminologies of land records and revenue department all across the country. We have almost done this completely. We are in the final stages of categorizing the terminologies into various groups that are standards and interpreting it based on their legal definition in respective revenue codes and trying to find a common understanding of those terms. Various meetings have happened by the Secretary Sahab has also taken meeting, Joint Secretary has also taken meeting, and maybe in the next 1 month we'll have at least a category of terms which will be understood similarly all across the state, all across the country from various states. So that is where we are already working. Maybe it will come in next few months. I wanted to say something.
I think you gave a beautiful example of what I was about to say. So just in terms of, and calling back to Dr. Sandeep's excellent comments before about the government needing to take a proactive approach and talking to the data users ahead of time, identifying the user groups, what their data needs are, and then making sure you're incorporating that into the schema that you develop so that you're not going back later and bolting on something onto a schema that doesn't quite fit. If you can plan that in ahead of time, it does take extra time, extra resources, but in the long run, if your data is more useful to a wider group of people, it's so much more valuable. And that's what we're about, is unlocking the value of this data, right? So, yeah, it's worth the time, taking the time. So I just, again, wanted to applaud your comments, sir.
Thank you. Any other question from the audience? Yeah, please.
Imagery, and with Naksha there will be data sets around 3D data sets around different formats also, meshes, which will be very heavy. Considering everything and considering the NGP, which states that we have to map the entire country at 5 centimeter GSD, there will be around 170 to 200 petabytes of data going to be collected in the next 5 years. So is there a policy around data management? Currently in the GDCs also the data is being stored and being called in hard drives. So that shift is not being done. So is there a policy level change that is going to be happening soon?
I think Naksha project is cloud native upfront. So we are addressing this problem, and perhaps while dealing with Naksha data, there will be some standards which will emerge how to manage this data. How will you I agree that it's a huge data. In Swamitva also we have about 2 petabytes of data, but while serving, actually you need to know what data for what. Storing the data as it is one thing. Serving the data for transactions is another thing. You need to see how much data and in what format you need to serve. See, when I am serving Swamitva data, about 150,000 we have served already. It takes about 7.9 petabytes, but total data storage I am envisaging as 2 petabytes. So what you serve, for what purpose, and what kind of outputs you want. So data organization is a issue, and as we go forward, we'll be addressing that. Naksha also, we need to know what data the public needs. I think it's 3D vector data which is being served, which will be served. If you see the RFP also, it is LOD1 data which will be prepared, and when it is served, it is LOD1 data and 3D vector data. So your sizes will be reasonable enough to be used.
Yeah.
Yeah, if I can add a little value to that comment. So on the cloud side, OGC has a cloud native format called Cloud Optimized GeoTIFF. So if you're serving petabytes of drone data, survey data, right? So looking at COG can be a very optimal value proposition for the national governments in the states. And also on the 3D side of things, we now have 3D tiles, which is again an open format. And when you're looking at visualizing this data over the web, for the citizens or for government-centric services, I think 3D tiles again can be one more standard. I think this can go probably, sir, as a recommendation as part of this Naksha proposal, that we can explore COG and 3D tiles as 2 standards to serve this data. Thank you.
Certainly, yeah, please.
So not necessarily linked, but I think just to some of the comments that Joshua and Dr. Sandeep have made on the relationship between user requirements and your second point on data quality. I think really interesting, because I think we need to, again, have a more mature conversation about how high quality does the data need to be. Because at the moment, our data, the underground pipes and cables, the accuracy is plus or minus 2 meters. It is and there's data missing, there is data in the wrong place. And that sounds bad, but it's fit for purpose, it's good enough, it doesn't need to be any better to meet the use case that is required. When people don't dig a hole, you don't dig a hole blindly. You have to do more detailed assessments. So again, I think there has to be more of a conversation around what is good enough. What is it, your point about the existing data, we've got 4 million kilometers of pipes and cables in the UK. We know it's wrong, but it's fine. And to go back and get that, to resurvey the whole 4 million kilometers to 0.2 RMS or to some sort of, would cost a fortune. It would cost an absolute fortune, and it's not needed. Other places, Singapore, which is a much smaller country, they are doing that. They're going out and surveying their data in far more accurately, but that's fine for them because they've got a much smaller area, they've maybe got a bit more budget. So I think we need to sort of have the conversation around, data standards is one thing, data quality, I think, is another thing, and data quality has to be linked to what Joshua was saying, data needs, because sometimes what you've got is good enough.
Well, and I just to piggyback, what's good enough for now?
Yeah.
And get ready for the future. Yeah. Singapore did not become Singapore overnight, right?
Yeah.
They worked over years and decades to build what they have. So what's good enough for now, and what can we build from?
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, it's a very, please.
Myself, Drupjyoti Sharma from NIC. I am also looking after this Swamitra project. And during that, we have received so many data, drone data. But one point is that this data that we have received, they have a different coordinate system. So it is very difficult to conversion at one place all these things. So in the Naksha project also, if they define that what the positioning system, the data need to submit, I think that time can be reduced. Thank you.
Yeah, so I think that is going to be done since Survey of India is going to do the entire job, so probably that will be taken care of. But on the accuracy standards, for example, just giving an example, during olden times we had a survey by manual means, and you will not believe in the old survey manuals we have data accuracy standards. What are the accuracy standards we have using, if you are using chain, stuff. But unfortunately, when we have advanced to newer technology, we have lost track of deciding on standards. So today, though we aim for 5 centimeters of accuracy using drones and rovers, but we actually do not have it on in writing in either a regulation, rule, or something like that. That is where we will have to work. Otherwise, in a place like Mumbai, people will question a foot of inaccuracy will always be questioned. Maybe in urban, other smaller towns, maybe 2-3 feet will not be an issue. But we'll have to have a standards. Any comment on any comment you want to make?
That's true that the data quality and the standards, it will vary from place to place and use per use. Only thing is that we need to decide judiciously that what exactly is required now and what is going to be our journey in the next coming 4, 5, 10 years. That way we need to decide standards. Everything we cannot say that right now today we can bring the data to this level and all. And you rightly said that if I talk about the Mumbai, even 10 centimeter here and there will be a lot of hue and cry. But if you come to a smaller town, there even 15-20 centimeter is also acceptable because people are getting good data. So we need to decide first of all that what exactly we require and where we need to compromise. So we did some exercise. My land records department prepared some documents where we have accepted that this much of error is acceptable. So that we need to decide, and probably that will again differ from place to place. Secondly, sir, about the schema, you rightly said that I came to know that Yashada is preparing a kind of common schema that is that will be a very good exercise for all these states. And in fact, we also requested many times DOLR that we need to, because we are going to for a very large project, so we need to define, because the keeping the data is again state definition, and as per the law, as per the local communication system, local language system, we have different type of schema available. Even within MP, one type of land is noted in records in different way. But yes, standardization is required. So that standardization is also again not for the entire data set. So as you asked that, someone asked that some are having 5 attributes, some are having 15 attributes, some are having even more. So we can standardize only the partial data. Partial attributes we can standardize. Rest, whatever is there in our legacy, that we have to bring. So first we will bring that data into our data, which is going to be used. Then only we will think of that how to clean this and how to standardize this. So everything cannot be done. So rightly said, Singapore is not built in a day.
Thank you. So we have come to the end of the discussion today, but before we close, maybe 2 minutes for Mr. Rao and Mr. Kiran.
So one thing, like since a lot of discussion is happening now on schema standardization, I think you can look into something called as LADM model, which actually is addressing lab to field. It addresses all the part of thing where you can work on this, and it can also help you doing overall generalization if you are looking in it. So as rightly said, the biggest challenge today will be like, the accuracy levels of the data has been collected also. Today with the modern survey, your accuracies have increased to what the other way we have been doing it. So that could also be a thing where, as Dr. Sandeep sir has told about, we have to get and arrive at that error, and every state have to agree to it. Otherwise, we can probably never arrive at a common data model at a national level. So I think since you are planning in that trade and you being in the part of the committee, I think that is something very interesting and common. And again, the other would be, if you are looking at a national level, all these projects to be synchronized and look seamless, we also have to arrive at a common coordinate system where you see all these records at a national level in a seamless mode. So that could also, because there could be very good when you're working on a state level, but when you come onto a national mosaic, we have to think of it that particular, probably like a common Mercator model or something where you have to look in for.
Thank you. Dr. Kiran?
So, sir, the important thing, one in terms of the data, which you talk about the standardization and also in terms of the sharing and all. So, but one thing definitely we have to place into the RFP, but important thing is that the DOLR has to take responsibility to create the complete schema, and whoever the vendor has qualified, they have to share that same schema to everyone and ask the state policy, the SOP, that the whoever vendor has working under this project, they have to follow this coordinate system and use this only the schema which is shared by the department. So there is no, like you can see in the future, there is no discrepancy in the schema and data level. And another important thing, if you could see now, in terms of the morning, the Kunal sir has mentioned regarding the metadata. So each and every data is collecting by the different sensors and different things. So metadata maintaining is very important factor. And under Operation Dhanagiri, which I launched recently, there is the GDI, Geospatial Data Interface, which I initiated. So the data sharing and also the metadata information is required over there. So if the Swamitwa or Naksha, whatever the projects, the metadata is available, that has to be registered over there. So the user agency to understand, okay, the data is coming from this state, these are the coordinate system and this is the format. And in terms of the accuracy, the last I want to put forward. As we know, the basic standard accuracy is the 3x and 5x, like horizontal, vertical accuracy. So only the 3x and 5x is the well enough, or else, okay, let's increase this 3x or 5x to 5x or 10x, horizontal, vertical accuracy. That also can put in the SOP, this is only acceptable if the data is not on this level, the data is directly rejected. So each and every vendor, when they have plan for the flight plan or any type of the survey, they should restrict, okay, my data should be processed on this much level, and they could also pre-deliver. They have to check whether the data is delivered on that much 3x or 5x level or not. That these are the points we have to careful, sir, before we have to take anything.
Thank you. Now we come to end of the discussion, panel 2 discussion now. Let me thank all the panel members for bringing their vast experience into the discussion and enriching all of us. And thank you, audience, for being patient and asking questions, relevant questions. Thank you. Thanks a lot.
Thank you, Sudhanshu sir, for the great panel. And it was great having all of you here. It was a great, insightful discussion that we had. Please be on the stage for a group photo. Everyone, we have a lunch break now for an hour. It's in the hall 4. If you don't have your lunch coupon with you, please collect it from the registration desk outside the hall. Please join us back at 2 p.m. for the last panel discussion of the day. Thank you.